Chapter 551. Old Tortoise. You seem to be very confident and arrogant. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and looked at Elder Xian Yin mockingly. How could he not know what was going on when Elder Xian Yin deliberately changed his voice? Elder Xian Yin was so confident that he could not detect him. He was indeed arrogant. Sect Leader Wang, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Oh yes, let's go up the mountain and have a chat at Black Marshal Hall. Sect Leader Wang, please. Elder Xian Yan's face twitched as he smiled stiffly and gestured with his hand. Bang! Ah! Wah! However, before he could even react, he was slapped to the ground by Wang Kai. His head was viciously stepped on by Wang Kai's foot. Damn you, looking for a scapegoat. Is this how you look for someone? Do you think you are smart? Fly around the northern wilderness. Wang Kai shrugged and snorted with disdain. Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai lifted his leg and kicked the Xianyan elder, sending him flying. His speed was as fast as lightning, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Many top powers from the Black Tortoise tribe swallowed their saliva when they saw this. No matter how good Wang Kai was at bragging, his strength could not be faked. Hey Lao Air, come in and lead the way. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled faintly. Yes, Lord Boast. Hey Lao Air, who was outside the door, had been watching for a long time. When he saw that Wang Kai had easily killed the two elders, he was so excited that he turned into his human form. Hey Lao Air, who was guarding under the Xianming Blackwater, did not know what was happening in the outside world. He did not know about Wang Kai, who had recently become famous. Hey Lao Air had thought that Wang Kai would be suppressed. However, not only was he not suppressed, but he had also suppressed the two elders. If Wang Kai could kill the current Black Tortoise sovereign, the Black Tortoise tribe might fall into Hey Lao Air's hands. After all, he was now his subordinate. Looking at the excited appearance of Hey Lao Air, Wang Kai couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. Although he didn't know what Hey Lao Air was thinking, but no matter what, it was a little superfluous. As Wang Kai followed Hey Lao Air up Black Tortoise Mountain, the Black Tortoise tribe experts who were watching also retreated. They were afraid that if they provoked Wang Kai, they would suffer the same fate as the Black Flame and Blackwater. Until now, Elder Xian Shui was still unconscious at the entrance of the mountain. Elder Xian Yan was nowhere to be found. Wang, boom, boom. Suddenly, when Wang Kai and Hey Air arrived at the peak of the Black Tortoise Mountain, in front of the Black Tortoise Temple, a terrifying pressure swept out. Bang! Wah! Hey Lao Air, a half-step to the Supreme Being stage expert, did not even have the time to resist before he vomited blood and fell to the ground. He lifted his head and looked at the Black Marshal Hall with some fear in his eyes. When Wang Kai sensed the pressure, he couldn't help but frown. With a wave of his hand, the pressure dissipated into nothingness. He turned to look at Hey Lao Air, who was lying on the ground, and said speechlessly, "You are a half-step to the Sovereign Realm expert, and those inside are also half-step to the Sovereign Realm experts. Although their combat strength is much higher than yours, you shouldn't be so powerless, right?" Cough, cough. Hey Lao Air was extremely depressed. It wasn't that he couldn't resist, but that he couldn't. How could he resist the combined pressure of dozens of half-step to the Sovereign Realm experts? However, in order to show off in front of Wang Kai, Hey Air could only brace himself to get up and say, "I've made a fool of myself. Just now. I thought that they would not dare to provoke you again, so I didn't make any precautions. That's why I fell into their trap." Cough, cough. Looking at Hey Lao Air, who was spitting blood while bragging and flattering, Wang Kai's mouth couldn't help but twitch slightly. He was really speechless by this guy. Bastard Hey Lao Air, as the guardian of the Xianming Blackwater, you have been nourished by the Xianming Pearl all year round. Such a good thing. Who knows how many experts in the Black Tortoise tribe coveted it. Now, you have turned to someone else and become a servant. Do you know that you have disgraced the Black Tortoise tribe? Why are you talking nonsense with him? Kill him here, take back the Xianming Pearl, and hand it over to Hey Lao Air. That's right, Hey Lao Air did his duty. Although he wasn't a match for them, he still risked his injuries to come and report. He should be rewarded. As several deep voices came from the Black Tortoise Hall, Wang Kai immediately frowned. He Lao Air was even more furious. He immediately sneered disdainfully and said, "Nonsense. He Lao Air didn't risk his injuries. He was beaten up by Sect Master. He didn't risk his life to go back and report. He was beaten up by Sect Master and sent flying up the mountain. Lao Air, how can you slander me like this?" Suddenly, He Lao Air's extremely weak voice came from the Black Tortoise Hall. His tone was filled with grief and indignation. "He Lao Air, you don't have to be angry. We know that you're loyal. That's right. We will deal with He Lao Air. The Xianming Pearl will also be yours." He Lao Air was even more disdainful when he heard the comforting words of the elders. He pouted but didn't say anything else. For the sake of their reputation, the Black Tortoise tribe could only choose to believe He Lao Air's words. Even if they knew the truth, they would pretend that they didn't know. He Lao Air died. Swoosh! In an instant, 7 figures flew out of the hall and attacked He Lao Air without saying a word. He Lao Air's heart jumped violently when he saw this scene. He couldn't even defeat one of them, let alone 7 of them. Although they were both at the half-step to the sovereign realm, there was a huge difference in their combat strength. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been sent to guard the Xianming Blackwater. After all, once they reached the same level as the top powers in the Black Tortoise Hall, they would be sent back. As for the top powers in the Black Tortoise Hall, they had all guarded the Xianming Blackwater and had been nourished by the Xianming Pearl. They had already reached the peak and couldn't use the Xianming Pearl to increase their cultivation. How could He Lao Air be a match for such power? Get lost. Damn it. Do you think I'm invisible? You guys are awesome. Bang. Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly, Wang Kai's figure flashed, and he appeared in the air. He waved his arms, and the 7 profound martial realm cultivators were sent flying back to the main hall. Cough, cough. He is really at the peak of the 9th grade sovereign realm. No, he can even suppress our bloodline power. The rumors of the 8 desolates are all true. The 7 top powers, who were severely injured by Wang Kai, were vomiting blood in the hall. Their faces were as pale as paper, and their auras were extremely weak. When the elders saw this scene, they all frowned. They wanted to show Wang Kai who was in charge, but who knew that it was useless. "Are you all prepared to be beaten up by this sect master?" Wang Kai squinted his eyes and smiled mockingly. He immediately walked into the Black Tortoise Hall with his hands behind his back. When He Lao Air saw this, he naturally followed closely behind by assuming the majesty of the tiger. Superb bragging system, VIP group number 4605-24699. Those who have reached the level of a disciple can join the group. Those who haven't, please don't join the group for the time being. If you want to know if your fans have reached the level of a disciple, you can click on the bragging system page and check it yourself or enter the group to ask. If you don't want the trouble, you can leave a message or leave your QQ number. I will invite you to join the group. Chapter 552. In the Black Tortoise Hall, there were nearly 100 figures sitting in 2 rows. There were old friends and young friends, and their auras were all at the level of a half-step sovereign. They were all dressed in black robes and looked at Wang Kai angrily. All of them had killing intent in their eyes. Aha, interesting. All of you are probably a few thousand years old, but there are still some pretentious fellows who purposely maintain their looks to be in their early 20s. This pretentious act isn't very impressive, but it makes me feel disgusted. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and smiled disdainfully. Whoosh! As soon as he said that, the young Black Tortoise powerhouse's eyes turned cold. On the other hand, the other Black Tortoise powerhouses couldn't help but gloat. Some of the Black Tortoise powerhouses were disdainful of their youthful looks. Otherwise, why would they look so old? Sect Leader Wang, why have you come to Black Tortoise Mountain? If you're here to cause trouble, you can go back. Black Tortoise Mountain admits that we are no match for you. A young Black Tortoise powerhouse said coldly. However, his words didn't make any of the Black Tortoise powerhouses feel embarrassed. It wasn't that Black Tortoise Mountain was no match for him, but that someone didn't want Black Tortoise Mountain to deal with Wang Kai. The elders of the Black Tortoise clan knew that this was just to get rid of Wang Kai. I Ayaya, Ayaya, fuck, are you all idiots? Unfortunately, this sect master is indeed here to cause trouble. Moreover, this sect master likes to violently beat up those stupid black tortoises who admit that they are no match for me. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and squinted his eyes, which were filled with a mocking smile. You? How dare you? Bang! Suddenly, the elders of the Black Tortoise clan slammed the table and shouted. All of them stared at Wang Kai with murderous intent. They didn't expect him to be so unreasonable. I think you're the ones who are being impudent. Get down. Buzz. Rumble. Bang, 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 bang. In an instant, Wang Kai's eyes turned cold as he shouted. The aura of a peak ninth-grade sovereign swept out and instantly filled the entire hall. As for the elders of the Black Tortoise clan, their bodies were all bent over from the pressure, and they were lying face down on the ground. They did not even have the strength to lift their heads. Seeing such a scene, He Laoer's heart was shocked to the extreme. What shocked him was not Wang Kai's cultivation, but his courage. No matter how tolerant Black Tortoise Mountain was, they couldn't tolerate him making a move. But now, he made a move. Black Boss, I'll F***CK your grandpa. You were so awesome just now. Whoosh. He Laoer's eyes turned and fixed on the old man who was lying on the ground, also motionless. The old man's face was pale, and there was blood at the corner of his mouth. When he heard He Laoer shout, he was immediately frightened. Sect leader, can you let me deal with this Black Boss? Black number 2 didn't directly attack, but respectfully bowed and asked for instructions. In this regard, Wang Kai was too lazy to pay attention. If it wasn't for the fact that He Laoer had some flattery skills, he would have already ended up like He Laoer. Well, let's drag out these 100 tortoises and let them bleed while we're at it. Wang Kai shrugged and said with an indifferent smile. Whoosh! As soon as he said this, He Laoer's expression froze. Nearly 100 tortoises. Drag them out and let them bleed? As for the Black Tortoise clan's elders, they were so scared that their complexions turned deathly pale. Some of them even fainted on the spot. In the face of such a strange enemy like Wang Kai, being angry was useless. It would be fortunate if they didn't get tortured to death. Sect leader, are we really... cough cough? Are we really going to bleed? If you do that, you will attract the attention of the Black Tortoise Sovereign. Black number 2 was covered in cold sweat. Before he could finish his sentence, Wang Kai waved his hand and interrupted him. He is merely the current Black Tortoise Prime. If this sect master's brother, Old Bull, gives the word, this sect master can send him to the Western Paradise at any time and steam a pot of turtle soup. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders, and his expression was filled with disdain. There could only be 10 Supremes in 8 barren lands. Therefore, even if Neojitian used to be a Supremes, if he gave up his position, he would not be able to become a Supremes again. Unless the current Supremes died or gave up their positions, Neojitian would not be able to return to his original cultivation level. Since that was the case, Wang Kai was very clear that from the beginning, he had to be hostile to the Black Tortoise Sovereign. However, he had to wait until he met Neojitian to decide what to do. Whoosh! Due to Wang Kai's forceful suppression, the elders of the Black Tortoise tribe were dragged out of the Black Tortoise Hall one by one without any ability to resist. Wang Kai casually swept his gaze across the spacious Black Tortoise Hall before finally fixing his gaze on the golden chair at the head of the hall. Black Tortoise Sovereign, I don't want to waste my time with you. Come out now. I have something to ask you. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and leisurely walked up to the high platform. He sat down on the golden chair and crossed his legs. If such words were spread, it would shock the entire 8 barren lands. Since when had a supreme being force and a supreme being expert been looked down upon by such a young expert? However, Wang Kai was the only one in the entire 8 barren lands. Wang Kai, Black number 2. Before the Black Tortoise Prime appeared, the screams of the Black Tortoise elders resounded outside the hall. The screams were ear-piercing and horrifying. When the experts of the Black Tortoise clan saw this, they were so frightened that they fell to the ground. They were not angry, but they were terrified and hopeless. Outside the Black Tortoise Hall, all the elders of the Black Tortoise clan were bleeding. This was against the rules of the Black Tortoise Mountain. However, Black Tortoise Sovereign did not stop it. Why is this happening? Does heaven want the Black Tortoise Mountain to perish? How strong is Wang Kai? Even Black Tortoise Sovereign can't touch him. What kind of sect is the Sky Discord sect? Why have I never heard of it? This perish. Many Black Tortoise clan experts' minds were in a mess. Their expressions were as if they had lost their minds, and their hearts were filled with despair. Outside the Black Tortoise Hall, the blood of almost 100 elders gathered into a river. In the end, they lost too much blood and fainted. They reverted back to their original Black Tortoise form and lay on the ground with their tortoise shells. Sect Leader Wang, your actions are making things difficult for me. Suddenly, a voice filled with anger and helplessness resounded in the hall. A black-haired, middle-aged man suddenly appeared in the middle of the hall. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at Wang Kai, who was sitting on the throne. Black Tortoise Sovereign, QQ Discussion Group, VIP Group Number 460524699. Friends who wish to subscribe to the group, quickly join. Disciples can join the group. Thank you for your continued support. Chapter 553. Difficult? Wang Kai raised his brow when he heard this. He looked down at him with a playful expression and said with a faint smile, "Old black bastard, don't think too highly of yourself. As long as this sect master wants to, with a wave of my hand, I can turn the sky into a pot lid and turn the earth into a giant pot. I can blow you into the pot and make you into a big turtle stew. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Stewed tortoise soup. Swoosh. Prime Black Tortoise frowned and stared at Wang Kai coldly. The killing intent in his eyes was obvious. He clenched his fists so hard that cracking sounds could be heard. He had been cultivating for more than 10,000 years and had met countless experts. However, he had never met someone as despicable as Wang Kai. He had also never met someone as daring as Wang Kai. Who in the 8 barons would dare to send a supreme being expert into a pot to stew? Even the other 9 supreme beings did not dare to do so. Even the Heavenly Emperor did not have the ability to do so. Although she was stronger than Prime Black Tortoise, she would not do such a thing. 8 barons supreme being. As the Black Tortoise utmost exalted pondered in his heart, the words 8 desolation utmost exalted appeared in his mind. As a result, all of his anger disappeared. It was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over him. Sect Leader Wang, why have you come here? I'm sorry to say that there is no bull demon in Black Tortoise Mountain and no one with the surname Nyo, Prime Black Tortoise said in a deep voice. You are quite good at enduring. Seeing this, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at him with a playful expression. He couldn't help but smile proudly in his heart. It seems that this sect master's reputation in the 8 Desolates is still very famous. With this power, even the Black Tortoise Sovereign has to be obedient when he sees this sect master. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and reaching first grade Supreme Being. Congratulations to the host for successfully reaching Supreme Being and activating the Star Source Points function. Host, Wang Kai Profession, Martial Artist State, First Grade Supreme Martial Artist Dao Technique, The Way of Bragging Divine Powers, Luck Deprivation Technique, Great Summoning Technique, 12 Revolutions of the Silver Moon Equipment, Tong Tian Tower, Ever-Changing Fan Power of Heaven, None Star Source Points, 0 Physique, Invulnerable Guardian Spirit Beast, None Bragging Points, 8,700 Experience, 300040000 0 Star Source Points. Upon hearing the notification, Wang Kai's eyebrows immediately furrowed. He quickly swept a glance over it before activating his mind to close it. He could not help but secretly mumble in his heart. My experience points did not increase again, and instead the star source points function has been activated? Previously, when he broke through to the Empyrean realm, he activated the power of the heavens. Now that he had broken through to the Supreme Being realm, he had unlocked the star source points function. Furthermore, what was recorded on it was nothing and zero. This also proved that he still couldn't use these two functions. But somehow, these two functions seemed to be connected. Wong Kai pondered for a long while, but still could not come up with an answer. Even if he asked the system, he was afraid that it would not give him a satisfactory answer. Thinking of this, Wong Kai could only stop thinking about it. When the time was right, he would be able to use it. However, just based on the reputation of these two functions, Wong Kai was filled with anticipation. As for what kind of power they had, he could only suppress his desire to know and wait for the right time. Sect Leader Wong, if you don't believe me, you can release your spirit. I will open up all the places in Black Tortoise Mountain and allow you to search without any obstruction. How about it? Sovereign Black Tortoise said with a frown. Especially when he saw Wong Kai's confused and excited expression, he was afraid that he would cause some trouble in Black Tortoise Mountain. Haha, what a joke. I am a supreme being. Do I need you to open up all the restrictions in Black Tortoise Mountain? Wong Kai snorted with disdain. Buzz. The moment he finished speaking, Wong Kai waved his hand and released all his suppressive aura. The suppressive aura that only a supreme being could possess was completely exposed. Such a scene instantly caused Sovereign Black Tortoise's pupils to shrink. He hurriedly looked above Wong Kai's head. This is not relying on the Silver Moon's superpower. You, a first-grade supreme being, this is impossible. There can only be 10 supreme beings in 8 wastelands. Could it be that the supreme being has fallen? No. Sovereign Black Tortoise turned pale with fright. Her shocked and panicked appearance caused Wong Kai's brows to twitch. Why did Sovereign Black Tortoise look as if he was unwilling for others to step into the Supreme Being stage? No, he was unwilling, but more of it was fear. However, before Wong Kai could ask, Sovereign Black Tortoise quickly apologized and said, Sect Leader Wong, you can tour Black Tortoise Mountain as you wish. I want to accompany you. Tell Bang. Wah, so your grandpa. Did I allow you to leave? Suddenly, a silver crescent moon appeared above Wong Kai's head. Then, he mercilessly slapped across the air. As a green palm print flew out, Sovereign Black Tortoise fell to the ground. On the left side of his face, there was a clear red handprint. Wong Kai, who was already in the Supreme Being stage, did not need to suppress the other party's bloodline. He could easily defeat a Supreme Being. As a Supreme Being, he naturally had a 10th grade bloodline, which canceled out Wong Kai's 10th grade bloodline. As for the 12 transformations of the Silver Moon, it could allow Wong Kai to reach the peak of a 9th grade Supreme Being and even higher by 2 or even 3 levels. If it was a close combat battle, with the 12 transformations of the Silver Moon suppressing the other party's bloodline, then all the Supreme Being experts in the 8 barren lands would probably be destroyed with just a breath. Sovereign Black Tortoise was extremely shocked. He crawled up from the ground and stared at Wong Kai in disbelief. He thought that although Wong Kai had the combat power of a 9th grade Supreme Being, he would definitely not be a match for a real Supreme Being. But now, he couldn't even block a single move. How powerful was Wong Kai exactly? Even without the order of the 8 barren Supreme Being, no Supreme Being would dare to disrespect Wong Kai, right? What about you? Be obedient and return to your original form. Be smaller. Lie there and don't move. Tell me, why were you in such a hurry just now? Wong Kai narrowed his eyes and asked with a surprised expression. Swoosh. Hearing this, Sovereign Black Tortoise's expression changed drastically. He even forgot about being slapped by Wong Kai. Immediately, he said with a serious expression, Sect Leader Wong, this is a long story. Now that it's a critical moment, please forgive me for not staying. Bang. Wah. In an instant, before Sovereign Black Tortoise could finish his words, he was slapped by Wong Kai again. He was sent flying and slammed into the pillar of the hall. Cough, cough. Wong Kai, you've gone too far in bullying me. Sovereign Black Tortoise was furious. He was originally anxious because of something, but now he was repeatedly stopped by Wang Kai. His words and actions were insulting him. How could a sovereign black tortoise tolerate this? If you don't make things clear, don't say that you've gone too far in bullying me. Today, I'll put you into a pot and stew you in turtle soup. Do you think this sect master wants to slap you? Wang Kai frowned and snorted with disdain. Damn, I've spoiled you. You think this sect master wants to slap you? You. Wah. Hearing this, Sovereign Black Tortoise was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. Meeting such a difficult opponent like Wang Kai was really the worst thing he had ever done in his life. QQ Discussion Group 4605-24699. Those whose fan value has not reached that of a disciple do not join a group. Thank you for your support. Please read the original. Chapter 554. Since you know the pain, quickly tell me the truth. Yes, this sect master's time is very precious. The members of the Discord sect are still waiting for this sect master to help them break through to the sovereign stage. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and said with a casual smile, Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Hearing this, Prime Black Tortoise was full of disdain. If it was so easy to break through to the Supreme Stage, there wouldn't have been only 10 Supreme Stage Masters in the 8 Barons for the past 90,000 years. Sect Leader Wang, this matter is of great importance. Forgive me for not being able to casually reveal it. Even if Sect Leader wants to take my life, I won't say a single word. Sovereign Xian Wu said solemnly. That determined look on his face could not be faked at all. Wang Kai frowned slightly. He really wanted to know what secret Prime Black Tortoise was protecting with his life. His breakthrough to the Supreme Stage was definitely because the system did not have any restrictions. So, why was he so worried about breaking through to the Supreme Stage? Could it be that the Supreme Stage Masters and the 8 Barons gave up their positions in order to break through the restrictions of the 8 Barons? Could it be that Black Tortoise Prime is so anxious because I suddenly became a Supreme Being? Could it be that he mistook me for the many Supreme Being factions who joined forces to break through the boundary and abandon Black Tortoise Mountain? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes as he pondered. As he thought of this, Wang Kai relayed his guesses to the Black Tortoise Sovereign with a playful look on his face. As soon as Wang Kai finished speaking, Prime Black Tortoise's face stiffened. He looked at Wang Kai in a daze and was extremely shocked. He could not figure out how Wang Kai knew. Sect Leader Wang, since you know so clearly, you were able to break through to the Supreme Stage because of the help of the Sky Emperor. Oh no, that person, right? Prime Black Tortoise said in a deep voice. That person? Wang Kai frowned and looked at him with a puzzled expression. He smiled faintly and said, Old Turtle, who is that person you're talking about? Sect Leader, are you still going to play dumb? That person is obviously. Shut up. Whoosh. Before the Black Tortoise Sovereign could finish speaking, a cold voice exploded in his head. It immediately caused the Black Tortoise Sovereign to pale in fright. He became covered in cold sweat and shut his mouth. However, since that person had chosen to stop him through telepathy, it proved that she did not want Wang Kai to know who was helping him. Are you challenging this sect master's patience? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and snorted coldly with an unfriendly gaze. The most annoying thing was to leave things unfinished. And Wang Kai was the kind of person who had a strong thirst for knowledge. As a result, he was really annoyed. Lin Mingya had just guessed what the Black Tortoise was worried about, and she had also received confirmation from him. Now, another that one had suddenly appeared. Who is it? Crack. Wang. Suddenly, just as Wang Kai was about to interrogate him forcefully, he saw a tear appear behind the Black Tortoise Supremacy, and the figure of the Black Tortoise Supremacy disappeared instantly. How dare you? Seeing this, Wang Kai frowned. He immediately slapped out in anger. However, there were a few crackling sounds. Although the void was slapped open, the figure of Prime Xian Wu had already disappeared. Who is it? How can it be so powerful that even I can't stop it? Wang Kai frowned and looked terrible. After reaching the supremacy realm, the only person he could not defeat when using the 12 turns of the Silver Moon was the Celestial Emperor of the Heavenly Court. After all, the Celestial Emperor also had the Silver Moon superpower. Although it was a 10th turn, it was enough to defeat him, who was only a first-grade supreme. The 10th turn of the Silver Moon could also suppress a 10th grade bloodline. The 12th turn of the Silver Moon could also suppress a 10th grade bloodline. When they offset each other, the only thing that mattered was their respective realms. As a 9th grade supreme, the Celestial Emperor was 8 grades higher than him. Even if the 12th turn of the Silver Moon was 2 grades higher than him, there was still a gap of 6 grades between them. Could it be the Celestial Emperor? Or could it be my wife? As he thought about it, Wang Kai's eyes suddenly lit up and he was in high spirits. Jing Xian was the 8th Baron Supremacy. She was definitely more powerful than the Celestial Emperor. That's not right. When she recovered her memory, she shouldn't have wanted to come into contact with me. Could it be that she found her conscience? Or did she think that I was the most powerful, domineering, and handsome? That's why she came to me. TSK, little girl, you have good taste. Wang Kai suddenly grinned and laughed proudly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Hearing the prompt, Wang Kai's face darkened and he stopped thinking about it. No matter whether it was Jing Xian or the Celestial Emperor, he would find out sooner or later. Thinking of this, Wang Kai immediately closed his eyes and used all his combat strength. His divine soul instantly covered the entire Black Tortoise Mountain, and he saw every corner. Papa, boy, when did you come to the Black Tortoise Mountain? At the back of Black Tortoise Mountain, in a sealed forbidden area, an ox demon with glossy fur was lying on top of a huge ice rock. Sensing that Wang Kai's divine soul had penetrated his body, he immediately opened his big, bell-like eyes and asked in a snorting voice. Seeing this and hearing this voice, Wang Kai's eyes lit up with joy. Old bull, you are too dishonest. My name has already shaken the world, yet you didn't even come to find me. Instead, you made me come to see you personally. Are you prepared to be beaten up for this crime? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and laughed in a mocking manner. Papa, hearing this, Niuzha Tian was extremely disdainful. He snorted and said disdainfully, Boy, don't act tough in front of me. You could be a king in the celestial martial domain, but in the 8 barren regions, you're nothing. Tell me, did you get into trouble and you need me to help you clean up your mess? Shua. Wang Kai's smile became even wider. It seemed like Niuzha Tian didn't know what he had done in the 8 barren regions. No wonder the Black Tortoise didn't know what he had done. Wait, how did you come to the Black Tortoise Mountain? Grandpa Nio didn't receive any notice. Did you offend the Black Tortoise Mountain? Niuzha Tian's eyes were wide open, and he immediately stood up. Shua, Kacha. However, before Niuzha Tian could react, the space in front of him was torn apart by Wang Kai. When Wang Kai appeared, Niuzha Tian was astonished. Tearing apart the space, a Zun cultivator's ability. Could it be that this brat Wang Kai had become a supreme being? Haha, old cow, I haven't seen you for many years. You seem to be living quite comfortably. TSK, there are flowers, grass, green mountains, clear waters, birds chirping, and fragrant flowers. Oh, there's even the ultimate treasure, the cold ice bed. Judging from its aura, it should be at least a few 100,000 years old, right? Papa, Papa. Niuzha Tian came back to his senses and snorted violently. He shouted in astonishment, What the fuck? You're a Zun cultivator? Chapter 555. It's just a mere supreme being. Back when I was in the immortal martial realm, this sect leader had already reached the supreme being realm. Back then, I didn't display it because I wanted to play around with the other experts. What's there to be surprised about? Wang Kai shrugged, his countenance calm as he smiled. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the second rank of the Supreme Zune stage. Clap, clap. Neojatian looked at him disdainfully. He snorted and said mockingly, "You're good at acting tough. If I don't listen to you, I don't think life is fun anymore." Umph. Hee hee. When this cult master speaks the truth, people often don't believe me. Well, who asked this cult master to be so broad-minded that he can accept the world? Wang Kai shrugged and smiled casually. His face was full of indifference. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Clap, clap. Neojatian shook his head and snorted. He smiled coldly and said, "Your lover must have helped you. The 8 Desolation Supreme being loves you so much. He broke the agreement between the 10 Zune cultivators to help you become a Zune cultivator." So was Jing Xian? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. Neojatian hadn't hidden anything from him. Instead, he had told him about the agreement between the Zune cultivators. What's the agreement? Can Jing Xian break through the 8 Desolation boundary? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and asked. Clap, clap. Neojatian snorted and said, "I can tell you, but you have to promise me one thing." Clap, clap. Wang Kai took out his fan and waved it in front of his chest. He smiled mockingly and said, "Tell me, what do you want me to help you with?" With my cultivation level, I'm invincible in the 8 Desolation boundary. Helping you is a piece of cake. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Bragging. Pretentious prick. Neojatian ignored Wang Kai and lied down on the ice bed. He raised his head and said, "It's very simple. Kill the heavenly ghost of the Death Valley." Supreme Heavenly Ghost. Hearing this, Wang Kai's pupils suddenly shrank. He looked at him in a daze and asked in confusion, "Is there a grudge between you two?" "I didn't in the past, but now I do. He's one of the main plotters. Since you're a Zune cultivator, he's useless. Just kill him," said Neojatian, smiling indifferently. Supreme Heavenly Ghost was also the main mastermind. Hearing this, Wang Kai couldn't help but recall the ghost soldiers and ghost generals in Supreme City. There is no harm in killing him. He once tried to use a soul pill to control this sect master. This debt will be settled sooner or later. This sect master agrees to your request. Wang Kai shrugged as he spoke in a rather casual manner. As for killing a Supreme Heavenly Ghost, Wang Kai didn't care at all. Neojatian snorted with satisfaction and said, "Back then, Supreme Heavenly Ghost used the Tower of Babel to enter Tianzhou to the Tower of Babel. He wanted to enter the Sky Reaching School to obtain the method to break the 8 Barren boundary. However, for some unknown reason, Supreme Heavenly Ghost died. Originally, the death of Supreme Heavenly Ghost would open up the position of Supreme Heavenly Ghost. Therefore, the leaders of the 10 Heavenly Ghost forces, the first generation 90,000 years ago, all joined forces and plotted to give up the position of Supreme Heavenly Ghost. They wanted to break through again and become Supreme Heavenly Ghost. However, in the end, they all failed." Wang Kai's brows twitched when he heard this. No wonder Jing Xian was reborn in the immortal martial realm. So it turned out that it was because she had entered the sky region and died there? Wait, if the position of Supreme Heavenly Ghost is empty, why didn't the 10 Heavenly Ghost forces directly break through to Supreme Heavenly Ghost 90,000 years ago? Why give up the position of Supreme Heavenly Ghost and break through again? Asked Wang Kai, puzzled. Wasn't such an action superfluous? Pow pow. Neojatian snorted and said disdainfully, "It's not that simple. If you want to become a Supreme Heavenly Ghost, you have to break through to Supreme Heavenly Ghost first." Swoosh. As soon as these words were spoken, Wang Kai's expression instantly froze. From the peak of the Empyrean realm, one can only step into the 8 Desolation Supreme realm. "What do you mean?" asked Wang Kai, frowning. "It's very simple. After you break through to Supreme Heavenly Ghost, you can choose to become Supreme Heavenly Ghost or Supreme Heavenly Ghost. If you choose Supreme Heavenly Ghost, you can only reach the peak of Supreme Heavenly Ghost for the rest of your life. If you choose Supreme Heavenly Ghost, you can become Supreme Heavenly Ghost, said Neojition. F***K. In this way, wouldn't it mean that he wouldn't be able to step into the 8 Desolate Supreme Realm? Did I choose the wrong path from the beginning? Wang Kai's face darkened. He relied on the system to break through to the next level. He didn't need to know the secrets of cultivation. Therefore, he didn't know the secrets. Can I reach the 8 Desolate Supreme Stage? Wang Kai frowned, his face as dark as ink as he urged his mind to ask. Host, you will naturally be able to reach the 8 Desolation Supreme Realm. The path that the system has chosen for you is the path of the strongest. If the host wishes to reach the 8 Desolation Supreme Realm and gives up on a higher level of power, the system can help you reach the 8 Desolation Supreme Realm now. Swoosh. As the prompt sounded, Wang Kai's expression froze. His eyes flickered slightly as he roughly understood the system's intention. According to the normal order, one could reach Supreme Heavenly Ghost first, then Supreme Heavenly Ghost, and then Supreme Heavenly Ghost. If one chose to become Supreme Heavenly Ghost, one would not be able to reach higher levels. If one chose to become Supreme Heavenly Ghost, one could only stay in Supreme Heavenly Ghost for the rest of one's life. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and thought for a while. Since the 10 Supreme Heavenly Ghost had planned to become Supreme Heavenly Ghost, it meant that they didn't know about it. Did Jingxian know? She probably didn't know. Otherwise, why would she give up on reaching higher levels and choose to become Supreme Heavenly Ghost? Go on, Wang Kai said softly, waving his fan. Clap. Neojition opened his eyes wide. He didn't know what Wang Kai was thinking. However, he didn't ask and continued. When the previous Supreme Heavenly Ghost found out that he couldn't become Supreme Heavenly Ghost, he regretted it. He was afraid that Supreme Heavenly Ghost would appear again and find out that they wanted to usurp the position of Supreme Heavenly Ghost. So he asked the other Supreme Heavenly Ghost to kill themselves in the Supreme City. Kill themselves in the Supreme City? 8 Supreme Heavenly Ghosts killed themselves? Wang Kai's face stiffened when he heard that. He couldn't help but admire Jing Xian secretly. She was so powerful that she could scare the other Supreme Heavenly Ghosts into killing themselves before she returned to 8 Baron. What is it? Just to appease Jing Xian? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked. Half of it was to appease 8 Baron. The other half was to break the boundary of 8 Baron. Neojition said. Chapter 556. 8 Desolation Boundary Again. Wang Kai's face immediately darkened when he heard this. His heart was filled with anxiety as he frowned and asked impatiently, how do we break the 8 Desolates boundary? Do we just need a few Supremes to die? Of course not. 9 generations of 90 Supreme cultivators have to die, said Neojition, shaking his head solemnly. 9 generations, 90 Supremes. All of them committed suicide. Even Wang Kai was a little shocked when he heard such a shocking thing. Supremes were willing to die in order to break the 8 Desolation boundary. Are there really such selfless people in this world? It's impossible, right? Why would those Supremes do it if there were no benefits? Wang Kai thought for a while and curled his lips rather speechlessly. Even he couldn't convince himself that those Supreme martial artists didn't benefit from it. He shrugged his shoulders and said with a smile, you just said that Supreme Heavenly Ghost made the other 8 Supreme martial artists commit suicide. What about the 9th and 10th? Why didn't they die? If the Heavenly Ghost Supreme is the 9th Supremes, who is the 10th Supremes? Bang! Neojition snorted and said indifferently, the 9th Supremes is the Heavenly Ghost Supreme, but he didn't die. He killed the unicorn and let the unicorn die in his place. Killed the unicorn? Wang Kai frowned when he heard that. Indeed, he had heard about the Heavenly Ghost Supreme a long time ago. The other Supremes would change, but the Heavenly Ghost Supreme had lived for more than 90,000 years. The unicorn is also a Supremes? Wang Kai asked doubtfully. Yes and no. Before the other 8 Supremes died, the Heavenly Ghost Supreme told us how to break the 8 Desolations boundary. Once the 8 Supremes died, the unicorn, as the strongest celestial master, could step into the Supreme's realm. At that time, the heavenly Ghost Supreme would kill him. The unicorn was the heavenly emperor's companion beast, Neo-Jetian said. So that's how it is. Wang Kai couldn't help but grin when he heard this. The quota of 10 Supremes had already been filled. The Qilin was a majestic, auspicious beast that wasn't inferior to the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and black tortoise in the first place. Instead, it was the last to become a supreme being and was even killed by supreme being Heavenly Ghost. So the 10th paragon is you, right? You're also killed? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and asked with a playful expression. Since Neo-Jetian had said that Supreme Heavenly Ghost had only ordered the other 8 Supremes to commit suicide, Neo-Jetian was not one of them. It wasn't suicide, Papa. Neo-Jetian snorted and got up from the ice bed. He looked furious and said, "Bullshit. He's just a heavenly ghost. He can't do anything to me. I died because the 9 heavenly ghosts joined hands to kill me. The mastermind is Heavenly Ghost Supreme. Killed by 9 supreme martial artists. The mastermind is Heavenly Ghost Supreme." Wang Kai was speechless when he heard this. He looked at Neo-Jetian with a playful expression and shrugged. "No wonder you hate Heavenly Ghost Supreme so much and want me to kill him. However, it's not just Heavenly Ghost Supremes matter. The 9 Supremes all agreed to it." "Papa." Neo-Jetian snorted to express his disdain and said coldly, "You're right, but if he didn't break the boundary and commit suicide, would I have been killed? I didn't support this at first. There were 10 Supremes in total, and you were the only one who didn't support it. It would be strange if you weren't killed." Wang Kai touched his nose and didn't say it out loud. He had to give Neo-Jetian some face. He shrugged and said with a smile, "What about the 4 divine beasts and the Qilin's primordial spirit and Tao plate in the immortal martial domain?" "Of course we're going to break the Tao and restart our cultivation. Before we die, we'll leave a part of our original spirit behind. Otherwise, we'll just have to reach the top of the celestial Zune layer. Once the 90 celestial Zune cultivators die, we'll be able to break through to the 8 desolates layer." It turned out that the primordial spirit of the Qilin and the 4 divine beasts in the immortal martial domain were all supremes of the 8 desolation supremes. They wanted to reach the peak of the celestial realm again and break through to the 8 desolation supremes. When he understood everything, Wang Kai was a little amused. Supremes could also break through to the 8 desolation supremes, but those supremes didn't know about it. They even gave up their supremes and committed suicide. Thinking about that, Wang Kai couldn't help but laugh and shake his head. He smiled indifferently and said, "Old Neo, what is the agreement between Jing Xian and the 10 Supremes? I broke through to the 8 Desolation Supremes. Why do you think she broke the agreement?" "Papa, you became a Supremes because your lover killed one of the 9 Desolation Supremes. That's why you were able to become a Supremes, right? How could the 9 Desolation Supremes of the 9 Desolation Supremes have committed suicide? I don't think your lover would be cruel enough to kill you. Otherwise, she wouldn't have helped you." Neo-Jetian snorted disdainfully. "Shua." Wang Kai frowned when he heard that. Jing Xian really had nothing to do with him breaking through to the 8 Desolation Supremes. It seemed that Neo-Jetian and Xuanwu Supremes were wrong. But it made sense. Who would believe that he could break through to the 8 Desolation Supremes just by bragging? Look at your pitiful face. Didn't you just say that you broke through to the 8 Desolation Supremes 90,000 years ago? Could it be that you become a coward after being killed by them once? Is that why you've chosen to go along with the plan of Sovereign Heavenly Ghost and the other Supremes? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows, his eyes full of ridicule. "Papa." Neo-Jetian snorted, but he didn't say anything. If he didn't obey the orders of so many supreme cultivators, he would have to die. Since he had died 90,000 years ago and his original spirit doppelganger had cultivated to the peak of the celestial master realm, there was no need to resist at the critical moment. Otherwise, wouldn't he have to watch the other Supremes step into the 8 Desolation Supremes? And he would be killed by the other Supremes? Wouldn't that be a great loss? Papa, I died 90,000 years ago in vain. Who would have thought that you would sleep with the 8 Desolation Supremes? This is the last generation of the 8 Desolation Supremes. If everything goes well, the 8 Desolation Supremes will be broken. Sigh, but since you killed Heavenly Ghost Supreme, I will have my revenge. Neo shook his head and sighed. Wang Kai curled his lips when he heard this. If it were him, even if he had to die and cultivate again, he would still insist on his original intention. He would have to completely destroy that so-called plan. Why did those Supremes commit suicide under the Supreme City? Moreover, I met many ghost soldiers and ghost generals in the Supreme City. They were also the 9th generation. Wang Kai frowned and asked curiously. Neo interrupted him. Under the Supreme City is the Reincarnation Realm. All the Supremes' corpses are there. The Reincarnation Realm is a coffin for Supremes. The dead Supremes will turn into ghost cultivators and use the cultivation of the ghost soldiers and ghost generals to step into the 8 Desolation Supremes. Once you step into the 8 Desolation Supremes, there will be a second 8 Desolation Supremes in the 8 Desolation Supremes. Naturally, the boundary will be broken. At that time, the original spirits of the Supremes will become 8 Desolation Supremes. Neo said in a low voice. The Reincarnation Realm is under the Supreme City, and it's a coffin. Wang Kai was stunned when he heard that. Thank you, Running Starry Sky in the Thunderstorm, Piao Hong, 13520. Hee. Do you want to love me forever? VIP group number 4605246699. Friends who have reached the number of my fans, please join the group or leave your QQ number. I will invite you to join the group. Chapter 557. If that's the case, then the descendants of the Supreme Forces are going to the Reincarnation Realm to prepare for the failure of breaking the limit of Ba Huang, asked Wang Kai with a smile. He had to admit that the 10 great Supreme factions were quite interesting. They didn't know how to break the limit of Ba Huang, but they still wanted to try. Jing Xian must have scared them to death. They didn't want to die in vain, so they decided to try this method. Of course, if we can't break the limit of Ba Huang, there won't be any Supreme cultivators. The 10 Supreme Forces will be on par with the first-rate forces. Therefore, the descendants of the Reincarnation Realm will decide that the next Supreme Cultivator will succeed and the previous Supreme Cultivator will commit suicide, said Neo. Wang Kai nodded. It was a good idea to let the next Supreme Cultivator become a Supreme Cultivator and protect the Supreme Forces from being destroyed by the other forces. The reason why the Supreme Forces were called the Ba Huang Supreme Forces was because they had a Supreme Cultivator. Without a Supreme Cultivator, the Supreme Forces would be on par with the first-rate forces. Even the Celestial Master's Mansion and the Eastern Imperial Court could fight against them. Looks like the 10 great sovereign forces are destined to disappear from the 8 desolates. Sigh, how sad. Wang Kai shook his head and sighed. Neo snorted and said, Little boy, I don't care how you act tough in front of the other groups of influence, but you can't touch the Black Tortoise Mountain. You can't touch the Divine Medicine Mountain either, said Mr. Cat from the Tower of Babel. Both Lord Cat and Lord Bull knew Wang Kai's character very well. Once he entered the Reincarnation Realm, with the arrogance of a Supreme Being's successor, they would definitely fight to the death. If Wang Kai destroyed the Supreme Forces and they failed to break the limit of Ba Huang, the Supreme Forces would be eliminated from Ba Huang. After all, who knew how many first-rate forces in the 8 Baron were waiting for this day to come? The Black Tortoise Mountain and the Divine Medicine Mountain. These 2 mountains. Big stupid cat, you can't be the Divine Medicine Mountain's first-generation Supreme Being, right? Wang Kai's brows twisted as he asked in surprise. Cat Grandpa's true origins had always been unclear. Even Wang Kai was unable to ascertain his true identity. He cultivated in illusions, his identity was like a fog, and he even possessed the Tower of Babel. No. In any case, you're not allowed to touch the Medicine Deity Mountain. That's a place where Cat Grandpa is indebted to. Back then, if it wasn't for the assistance of the Medicine Deity from the Medicine Deity Mountain, Cat Grandpa would have already died in the 8 Desolaces. How would I be able to escape to the immortal martial realm? Furthermore, I wouldn't have gone to Fan Province to get acquainted with you. Lord Cat stroked his long whiskers as he spoke in a serious tone. Hearing this, Wang Kai felt goosebumps all over his body. Although Lord Cat seemed to be pleading, he was actually playing the emotional card. Oomph. The Divine Medicine Mountain is just a bunch of alchemists. It's good that they're destroyed, said Nyoja Tian disdainfully. Bullshit. Black Tortoise, you're just a tortoise. If you dare disrespect Lord Cat again, I will use an illusion to turn you back into a tortoise and make you dance. Lord Cat bared his fangs. Slap. Nyoja Tian glared at the Tower of Babel on Wang Kai's ear and said, Little demon cat, Grandpa Nyo didn't want to expose you. But since you're so pretentious, I won't show you any mercy. Oomph. What do you know? You want to expose Lord Cat? Lord Cat sneered disdainfully. 93,000 years ago, a golden meteorite fell from Tianzhou and turned into a gigantic golden tower. The one who controlled the tower claimed to be the supreme cultivator of illusions. Nobody knows his real face, but he was indeed a supreme cultivator. However, in 3 days, he was almost destroyed by the 8 Desolation boundary. Bastard. Where did you hear that? Before Nyoja Tian could finish his sentence, Mr. Cat scolded him. Slap. However, Nyoja Tian ignored him and continued. The supreme cultivator of illusions created the Tower of Babel, but in 3 days he was almost killed by the 8 Desolation boundary. In the end, he disappeared, and the Tower of Babel ended up in the hands of the 8 Desolation boundary. The 8 Desolation boundary obtained the inheritance of the Tower of Babel, and after 1,000 years, he went to Tianzhou and disappeared. Lord Cat's face turned green when he heard Nyoja Tian's story. On the other hand, Wang Kai found it interesting. So Jingxian obtained the Tower of Babel and the inheritance of the 8 Desolation boundary. That's why she was able to go to Tianzhou. If that's the case, this sect leader really has to thank you. If it wasn't for the fact that you were almost beaten to death, allowing Jingxian to obtain the heaven-reaching pagoda, how would this sect leader be able to meet her in the immortal martial realm? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes as a playful smile appeared on his face. In the Tower of Babel, Lord Cat's face turned green. He was an illusionary cultivator who had come to Ba Huang and claimed to be the 11th supreme cultivator. However, in 3 days, he had almost been killed by the 8 Desolation boundary. He had been in a coma for 1,000 years. If the Divine Medicine Mountain hadn't saved him, he would have died long ago. Lord Cat didn't want to talk about that secret. After all, it was too embarrassing. You can't even last 3 days, and you almost died. How dare you act tough in front of Master Nyo? Aren't you ashamed? Sneered Nyoja Tian mockingly. Bzz. Whoosh. Suddenly, the Tower of Babel flew out, and Lord Cat's figure appeared from it. He was fat and covered in white fur. He had gold earrings on his ears and 2 blades on his back. He narrowed his eyes and stared at Nyoja Tian coldly. Swoosh. 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 When Nyoja Tian saw that, he didn't show any signs of weakness. He arched his back and looked at Mr. Cat. Old Nyo is now at the peak of the celestial master realm. Stupid cat, how strong are you? Wang Kai asked curiously. It was strange. Lord Cat's cultivation level was difficult to detect. Although he could use the system to detect it, it wasn't necessary. What cultivation level could he be at? He's at the peak of the celestial master realm, like Lord Nyo. Even if he could become a supreme cultivator, he wouldn't dare. Nyoja Tian sneered disdainfully. If Lord Cat became a supreme cultivator again, he would be attacked by the 8 Desolation boundary again. Last time, he could survive, but this time he might not. In fact, that was the case. Cat stroked his whiskers and reached out his paw to pull out a long saber from his back. Then he stabbed it into the void and disappeared. He narrowed his eyes and sneered. Old bastard, today, Cat will beat your head back into your turtle shell. 3,000 illusions, illusion mind. Bzz. Suddenly, the sword disappeared and a white fog appeared and surrounded Nyoja Tian. Swoosh. Swoosh! Neo-Jation snorted disdainfully and shouted, "Black tortoise true body, snake devours the clouds." Swoosh! Neo-Jation turned back into the black tortoise. The black snake around him opened its mouth and swallowed the white fog. Chapter 558. If you don't return to your original form, how am I going to beat your head back into your turtle shell? Lord Cat stroked his whiskers and sneered. Buzz. After he said that, Lord Cat stretched out his claws and took out a long knife from his back. Then, he pointed at Neo-Jation and slashed at him. Bang! Puff! Suddenly, the black snake that had swallowed the white mist exploded on Neo-Jation's back. It turned into a rain of blood and disappeared. Whoosh! The white mist turned back into the long saber and flew back to Lord Cat's hand. Insignificant skill. Neo-Jation snorted disdainfully. He did not feel anything when the black snake exploded. Instead, his eyes flashed green and the black snake appeared again. Let's see how many times you can recover. 3,000 illusions, phantom spirit. Buzz! Lord Cat bared his fangs and threw his two long sabers into the air. The white mist that came out of the saber covered the entire mountain. Even if the black snake wanted to swallow it, it did not have a chance. In the blink of an eye, it was surrounded by the white mist. Mysterious underworld black water. Whoosh! Whoosh! In a flash, Neo-Jation roared and black water started pouring down from the sky. The entire mountain was covered in black water. The white fog also gradually dissipated under the cover of the mysterious underworld black water. Once again, they transformed into two long sabers, which Lord Cat grabbed in his hands. Neo-Jation was floating above the waves of the mysterious underworld black water. He stared at Lord Cat with his eyes wide open. Old Turtle, it seems like you haven't lived for 90,000 years in vain. However, don't think that this is all I have. 3,000 illusions, ultimate mystery, illusory saber. Buzz! Buzz! Suddenly, Lord Cat's two long sabers turned into white mist, disappearing and reappearing from time to time. At the same time, Mr. Cat also rushed towards Neo-Jation. Neo-Jation did not show any weakness. He roared and attacked Lord Cat with the mysterious underworld black water. Clang! Bang! However, when the two of them met, Mr. Cat swung his sword at Neo-Jation's tortoise shell. Neo-Jation took the opportunity to poke his head out and hit Mr. Cat in the stomach. Ahem, old tortoise, Cat Grandpa has two knives? Cat Lord grimaced in pain. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. With great effort, he held the other saber and ruthlessly stabbed down. Puff! Ayo! Suddenly, Neo-Jation dodged the attack, but his skin was still cut. The pain was excruciating, and he couldn't stop howling in pain. Whoosh! Mr. Cat looked at Neo-Jation mockingly and said, "That's the most profound illusion of the 3,000 illusions. Illusion blade. Every blade contains illusions. If you're hit, you'll fall into an illusion. Old Turtle, you didn't put your head back in your shell, so you're an illusion." Neo-Jation smiled mockingly and said, "That's the most profound illusion of the 3,000 illusions. Illusion blade." Ayo! Neo-Jation's eyes were filled with anger. He roared a few times, but his mind was in a mess. In the end, he stood there in a daze, as if he had lost his mind. However, in the end, Neo-Jation did not put his head back in his turtle shell. At the last moment, Neo-Jation realized that he had been tricked by Mr. Cat. Because of Mr. Cat's words, Neo-Jation had decided to fight to the death. Wong Kai, who was watching from the side, knew what was going on. He nodded and said, "I didn't expect old Neo to be so stubborn. He would rather be beaten than to cower. Big stupid cat, you're quite good at scheming." Schwa! Mr. Cat snorted disdainfully. He stroked his beard and smiled indifferently. Sometimes, even if you know you're going to lose, you have to persist. Just like you did in Fan Province when you faced an army of 1,000,000. Neo-Jation knew that he would be in danger if he didn't cower, but he didn't do it. If he did that, even if he won the battle, he would have lost. After all, Mr. Cat had told him to put his head back in his turtle shell. Hee, but I think old Neo is smart. At least he won against you. Even if you control him with your illusion, you won't hurt him, Wang Kai said with a playful smile. Shua. When Mr. Cat heard that, he stopped stroking his whiskers. Indeed, Neo Tian hadn't put his head back into his turtle shell, which meant he had lost. Even if he controlled Neo Tian, he wouldn't hurt him. Mr. Cat glared at Wang Kai angrily. Then, his body flickered, and he turned into a white mist and entered the Tower of Babel. When the Tower of Babel appeared in front of Wang Kai's ear, Neo Tian woke up from the illusion. Hee, where's the big stupid cat? Now you know how powerful Master Neo is, right? Neo Tian turned back into a bull and snorted. His voice was filled with disdain and mockery. Mr. Cat, who was in the Tower of Babel, chose to shut off his hearing. You want to fight with Master Neo? Only if your cat hair can cover a mountain. Neo Tian raised his head proudly. Wang Kai frowned. He was speechless. If Mr. Cat and Neo Tian really fought, it would be hard to say who would win. In the past, Mr. Cat could rely on his illusion to fight against high-level cultivators. But now, he and Neo Tian were both peak celestial masters, and both of them had fallen from the celestial master realm. It would be difficult to determine the winner. Where's Kong Ro? I haven't seen her for many years. She's become a beauty now, right? Wang Kai asked with a playful smile. Shua. Neo Tian looked at Wang Kai cautiously and warned him, Boy, Master Neo is telling you seriously that you are not allowed to have any ideas about my disciple. Not allowed to fight. Who wants to fight? Wang Kai curled his lips disdainfully and waved his fan. He smiled and said, I have always treated her like a sister. How could such a thing happen between us? It's strange that I didn't see her in Black Tortoise Mountain. Pa! Pa! Neo Tian snorted. He didn't believe Wang Kai and said, Boy, I'm afraid you won't be able to see her. Master Neo has already sent her to the reincarnation world. She will be the next celestial master of Black Tortoise Mountain. She has entered the reincarnation world. She can enter now. Wang Kai was startled. He hadn't thought that the successor of a celestial master could enter the reincarnation world before anyone else. Old Neo, Black Tortoise Mountain, is full of bastards. Why did you make a peacock the celestial master? Don't you trust the Black Tortoise clan? Wang Kai frowned and asked curiously. Neo Tian snorted and lied down on the ice bed. He said, 90,000 years have passed. I can't tell who's real and who's fake. Fellow cultivators who have reached the disciple level, please join the VIP group at 4605-24699 or leave your QQ in the book review section. I will invite you to join the group. Chapter 559. That was why he had chosen Kong Ro to become the Zun cultivator. It would be easier to control Xianwu Mountain. Neo Tian's plan was perfect. He had been planning this since the celestial martial domain. Now, it was about to bear fruit. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and waved his fan. He smiled mysteriously and said, Old Neo, why are you so sure that I can't enter the reincarnation world? Don't you know that the reincarnation world is just a closet that I use to store clothes? Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. The reincarnation world is a closet that you use to store clothes? What a braggart. Clap, clap. Neo Tian snorted in disdain, but he didn't show it. After all, he knew that Wang Kai loved to brag. You're a Zun cultivator, so you can't enter the reincarnation world. You're a Zun cultivator now. Hee, unless you ask your lover to help you. She won't be able to help you now that you've become a Zun cultivator, said Neo Tian proudly. A Zun cultivator can't enter. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly when he heard this. His expression was rather indifferent as he smiled and said, Old cow, from the beginning to the end, you've been mistaken about one thing. The reason why I was able to break through to the sovereign realm was because of my extremely high talent and unique aptitude. It has nothing to do with Jingxian. Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for becoming a Zune cultivator of the 3rd rank. Clap, clap. Neojitian opened his eyes wide and looked at Wang Kai. He didn't know what to do when he saw how confident Wang Kai was. Could it be that Jing Xian didn't help him? It couldn't be. He must be bragging again. That's right. He was definitely bragging. When he was bragging, there was no flaw in his words. Neojitian became more courageous. He humphed disdainfully and said, "Little boy, if you don't believe me, how about we make a bet? If you can enter the world of samsara, I will let you do whatever you want of me. If you can't enter, you have to promise me that you will never have any ideas about my precious disciple. You can't even be my little sister." With Wang Kai's personality, not to mention a younger sister, even an older sister would be easily tricked into bed by him. If Wang Kai really loved only Kong Ro, Neojitian wouldn't resist. On the contrary, he would help him achieve his goal. The key point was that Wang Kai was not someone who could stay idle. Even the 8 Desolation Supremacy had fallen into his hands. If Kong Ro were to be together with him, what status would she have left? Even if he became a Supreme, he would still be inferior to the 8 Desolation Supreme. Neojitian was proud and arrogant. He didn't want his disciple to be humiliated by other people. That wouldn't be good. However, what Neojitian didn't know was that Wang Kai didn't have any feelings for Kong Ro. When Wang Kai heard this, he did not have much interest in it at first. But now he was interested. He squinted his eyes and said with a playful smile, "Old bull, I don't want to punish you. I just need you to promise me that if I can enter the reincarnation realm, I will definitely have Kong Ro." Bang, bang, bang. Neojitian jumped up and shouted, "Little boy, you can't go too far. You're going too far. There are so many women in the world. Why do you have to like my disciple? Do you really want to F***CK her?" Swoosh. Wang Kai's face stiffened. He hadn't thought that Neojitian would use such a method to deal with him. F***CK her? Old Neo, you're going too far. Wang Kai frowned and looked at Neojitian angrily. Neojitian didn't want to be outdone. He glared at Wang Kai and didn't want to back down. All living beings cut. Wait. I'll bet with you. Suddenly, before Wang Kai's hand could reach Kong Ro, Neojitian was so scared that he started trembling. If Wang Kai really did that, Kong Ro would definitely fall into his hands. In fact, there is no need to bet with Kong Ro. If you can take out something that I like, I can consider it. Wang Kai shrugged and changed the thread of discussion with a smile. Swoosh. Neojitian rolled his eyes and smiled. "Little boy, you know what's good for you. Tell me, what do you want? I can get it for you." How pretentious. Wang Kai immediately curled his lips in disdain and looked at him with disdain. He smiled faintly and said, "This sect master wants to F***CK, the Heavenly Emperor wants. Get it for her. That's not a big deal. Little boy, change your request." Neojitian suddenly stopped talking and looked at Wang Kai angrily. Bring Tian Di to Wang Kai to F***CK? Wouldn't that be like asking for death? He wasn't a supreme cultivator yet, but even if he was, he wouldn't be able to defeat Tian Di. Tian Di was the strongest cultivator in Ba Huang after Ba Huang Supreme. Change your grandpa. Change your grandpa. You can't give me what I want, and you still dare to act tough and say that I can raise any conditions I want? Is there anyone who acts tough like you? Lin Fan thought. That's not good for you. Wang Kai groaned disdainfully. Slap. Neojitian was furious. Who knew that Wang Kai would use Tian Di as a condition? However, for the sake of his precious disciple's safety, he could only turn his eyes and think to himself. Right. Tong Tian Peak. I can tell you how to get to Tianzhou. But whether you can get to Tianzhou or not depends on your own ability. Neojitian smiled coldly. Tianzhou. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and kicked Neojitian off the ice bed. He sat down on it and asked curiously, "What kind of place is Tianzhou? Is it awesome?" Slap. Neojitian stood up angrily, but he couldn't do anything to Wang Kai. He groaned and said, "I don't know if it's awesome or not, but the 8 Desolation Supremes went there and died. What kind of place do you think that is? Wang Kai looked at Niuzha Tian. Jing Xian died. Wang Kai's pupils suddenly shrank when he heard this. His expression was rather indifferent as he smiled and said, Hee hee, it's just the Tianzhou. Once this sect master steps into the Tianzhou, I will definitely slap that trash who harmed Jing Xian to death. Congratulations to the host for bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Little boy, I don't care if you're bragging or not. I just want to ask you, do you agree or not? Niuzha Tian said mockingly. Slap. Wang Kai flipped his hand and closed the folding fan. Then he nodded gently and said with a smile, Well, since you are so confident, this sect master will play with you. Let's go to the reincarnation realm. Watch this sect master beat the descendants of the 10 great supreme masters. Slap. Niuzha Tian snorted and shook his head. He smiled coldly and said, You think I'm afraid of you? Chapter 560. Central Wilderness. Celestial Emperor's Supreme City. Wang Kai and Niuzha Tian walked out of the tear in the void. However, they had different expressions on their faces. On the other hand, Wang Kai was very calm and casual, as if he didn't care about the bet at all. Niuzha Tian stared at Wang Kai. He had thought that Wang Kai was bragging at first, but now he had become suspicious and uneasy. Clap. Boy, you're not allowed to ask your lover for help. Otherwise, our bet will not count. Niuzha Tian snorted and said. Niuzha Tian believed that Wang Kai had broken through to the supreme stage with Jing Xian's help. Otherwise, Wang Kai would not have been able to break through the boundary of the 8 wastelands. This sect master has always emphasized that no one has helped this sect master. I was able to break through to the supreme being stage solely because of my superb talent and charming demeanor. Yes, in short, this sect master is very awesome. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with a rather indifferent expression. Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Niuzha Tian still looked at Jiangshan with disdain, but he did not express his disdain. Niuzha Tian believed that Wang Kai was bragging because he did not want him to think that he was relying on a woman. Sect leader. Whoosh. With a shout, the green and red ghosts, the soul-devouring ghost emperor, the white-boned ghost king, Genie, and Lu Tian appeared at the city gate. Clap. Niuzha Tian glanced at them and found that they were only celestial primes. He rolled his eyes and ignored them. Did you succeed? Wang Kai frowned and asked with a playful expression. Whoosh. Lu Tian and the others were embarrassed. They looked at each other and shook their heads. No, we did not succeed. The 5 barracks had celestial masters to help us. Celestial masters? Family leaders? Wang Kai frowned slightly when he heard that. He did not expect that even a celestial master at the level of family head would come out to fight for the qualification to enter the reincarnation realm. Sect leader, Bai was brought back by the Bai family. At that time, this elder fought 300 rounds with the Bai family's army, and in the end, even the Empyrean expert's anus exploded. Lu Tian was dancing and bragging, but halfway through, he was ignored by Wang Kai. All right, stop bragging. Your bragging is not good at all. Buy you that trash. If he was saved, then let him be saved. Jean, why didn't Yang Wei come back with you? Wang Kai's gaze turned and looked at Jean suspiciously. Gold One scratched his head and said in a low voice, Hall Master Yang has already broken through to the earthly venerable rank after the battle with the Ho family. He asked me to come back first and prepare to stay on the way to intercept the Ho family army again. He had broken through to the earthly venerable realm. This way, even the Ho family's Empyrean powerhouses were absolutely not Yang Wei's match. His autarch physique, coupled with the Silver Moon's 10th circulation technique, suppressed his bloodline. It seemed that the one who gained the most was still Yang Wei. Wang Kai nodded gently with a smile. Actually, letting them go was not to truly complete the mission, but to let them each gain some experience. But now, it seemed that Yang Wei's improvement was the fastest. Who knew what level he would reach after successfully wiping out the whole family army this time? Pure young overlord body. The more he fought, the braver he became. Let's go. Let's go to the reincarnation realm. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled. Lu Tian and the rest were startled when they heard that, and then their faces were filled with joy. Sect leader, could it be that you successfully took out the life and death fruit from the 6 extremes forbidden land? Lu Tian asked in high spirits. Originally, seeing that Wang Kai could return safely, he was already very excited. But he did not expect that Wang Kai would actually succeed in obtaining the life and death fruit. I didn't get it. I didn't even get to see it before I destroyed the 6 extremes forbidden land. Old man 6 extremes is already ascended to heaven. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a calm smile. Destroyed the 6 extremes forbidden land. Exterminated old man Lu Ju Whoosh. Hearing that, Lu Tian and the rest were stunned, and even Nyoja Tian's eyes were wide open. Slap! Slap! Boy, did your lover help you destroy it? Nyoja Tian snorted and snorted disdainfully. Bang! Moo! Suddenly, Wang Kai turned his hand and slapped Nyoja Tian. Nyoja Tian immediately fell to the ground and screamed in pain. Seeing that, Wang Kai was stunned. He did not expect that Nyoja Tian would feel pain. Moreover, he did not use the 12 turns of the Silver Moon. He only used the strength of a 3rd-grade sovereign. Bastard, do you think this is the celestial martial realm? Do you think I'm still in the breaking Dao realm? Nyoja Tian got up from the ground angrily. Nyoja Tian looked at his back and saw that it was bleeding. However, in Wang Kai's opinion, if he wanted to break Nyoja Tian's defense, he would have to use the 12 turns of the Silver Moon. This proved that Nyoja Tian could fight against the Supreme Being, but he could not guarantee that he would not feel pain. Who is this bull demon? Is he the mount that you have just tamed? Lu Tian looked at Nyoja Tian in surprise. At the same time, he reached out his hand to grab Nyoja Tian's horns. Slap! Bang! Get lost! Suddenly, Nyoja Tian shouted furiously and kicked Lu Tian, sending him tumbling away. Wah! F***CK. Cough, cough. Plop. Lu Tian felt pain in his chest. He felt that his bones were broken. He fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face turned pale, and he stared at Nyoja Tian in shock. The green and red ghosts were also looking at Nyoja Tian in shock. They did not expect this bull demon to be so powerful. He kicked Lu Tian, who was at the peak of the celestial venerable realm, away. Moreover, judging from Lu Tian's appearance, he did not have the strength to fight anymore. How ruthless! Elder Lu can't even take care of himself with a single kick. Green Ghost swallowed his saliva and said, F***CKU. Let's fight again when I recover. Lu Tian clutched his chest and got up from the ground. He was sweating profusely. Slap! Slap! Nyoja Tian looked at Lu Tian and snorted. Boy, if you dare to act tough in front of me again, I will send you to heaven with my hoof. You. Wah. Cough, cough. Lu Tian was extremely indignant when he heard that, but there was nothing he could do. Now, even speaking caused his lifeblood to churn. Nyoja Tian had been slapped by Wang Kai, so he was furious. Naturally, he did not show any mercy. Lu Tian did not die from the hoof of a peak celestial venerable. It proved that Nyoja Tian was strong enough. All right, let me introduce him. His name is Nyoja Tian. His real body is from the Black Tortoise Mountain, the Black Tortoise from 90,000 years ago. Well, he is also the guardian of the Discord sect. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a rather indifferent smile. Whoosh! Lu Tian was speechless and looked at Nyoja Tian. He did not expect that Nyoja Tian was the Black Tortoise Mountain. He was from 90,000 years ago. What kind of awesome expert was this? Chapter 561. Such a weak force dares to shout at this religion master? It seems that this religion master has been too low-key. Sometimes being modest is not a good thing. Wang Kai clapped his hands, shook his head, and sighed again and again. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Is this called being low-key? Is this called being modest? Was all the low-key modesty nowadays explained in this way? Lu Tian and the others looked at each other speechlessly. They always admired Wang Kai's bragging spirit. But at the same time, they were all excited. Wang Kai's power proved that the sky-defying sect was getting stronger and stronger. Sect Master, it seems that you did not use the 12 turns of the Silver Moon. Is it possible that your realm, the green ghost and the red ghost, looked at each other, swallowed their saliva, and asked in a dry voice? Hearing this, Lu Tian, Jin Yi, the soul-devouring Ghost Emperor, and the White-Bone Ghost King were stunned. They also looked at Wang Kai with a look of disbelief and eagerness. Bang! Bang! Niuzha Tian also kept snorting, and his eyes were wide open. He shouted, "Boy, what kind of divine ability is the 12 turns of the Silver Moon?" Niuzha Tian naturally knew about the 10 turns of the Silver Moon. After all, it was the first Heaven Emperor's specialty. But Niuzha Tian was full of doubts about the 12 turns of the Silver Moon. Well, I have reached the Sovereign Realm not long ago. If I use the 12 turns of the Silver Moon, I will be invincible in the 8 Barons. Any expert who comes to me will only need to lift a finger. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a smile, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Using the 12 turns of the Silver Moon, invincible in the 8 Barons?" The Heaven Emperor also knew the Silver Moon divine ability. Okay? Although it was only the 10 turns, it was enough to deal with Wang Kai, who was not at the peak of the Sovereign Realm. Moreover, there was the 8 Baron Sovereign. Where could he be invincible? Lu Tian and the others were even more speechless. It could be considered that they prostrated themselves on all fours in admiration of Wang Kai's bragging ability. However, Wang Kai truly reaching the Supreme Realm made Lu Tian and the rest extremely excited. This also proved that apart from the Heavenly Emperor and the 8 Desolation Sovereign, Wang Kai was the 3rd strongest person in the world. The 3rd strongest person in the entire 8 Barons. He was a figure who stood above all the other Supremes. How could the Heavenly Sect not dominate the 8 Baron lands? Sect Master is mighty, domineering, and handsome. Sect Leader is awesome. Sect Leader, you're awesome. In an instant, under Lu Tian's leadership, the green and red ghosts, the soul-devouring Ghost Emperor, the White-Bone Ghost King, and even the usually honest Gold One chimed in. "Papa," Niuzha Tian snorted and said, "Little boy, it seems like you found a lot of people to flatter you. Do you have a sense of superiority?" "Senior, you must be joking. As the elders and hall leaders of the Heavenly Sect, of course we have to flatter the sect leader. Moreover, the sect leader is really awesome." Lu Tian rubbed his chest and laughed dryly. Now, he did not dare to provoke Niuzha Tian. Niuzha Tian's kick was really unbearable. Elder Lu is right. The sect leader is now a famous expert in the 8 Barons. Even the Supremes are no match for him. "We're right," the soul-devouring Ghost Emperor said with a smile. Whoosh! In response, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and waved his folding fan. He looked at Niuzha Tian indifferently and said with a casual smile, "Did you hear that? Alas, who asked me to be so charming and powerful at the same time? In fact, being too powerful is also a kind of sorrow. It makes me less angry. If this goes on, I may become a wooden man without any emotions." Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Slap, 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 slap. Niuzha Tian snorted and shook his head. He did not want to talk to Wang Kai anymore. Niuzha Tian was much more patient than the cat, but he still could not bear to listen to Wang Kai's bragging for a long time. How arrogant! Crack! Suddenly, a cold voice sounded. The sky was torn apart, and a beautiful woman walked out of it. Her face was expressionless, and her eyes were cold. She was holding a horsetail whisk with feathers on her head. She looked emotionless. The emotionless prime. Wang Kai's pupils suddenly shrank when he saw this. His expression was immediately filled with a playful smile. He waved his folding fan and looked at her playfully. Slap! Neo-Jation snorted and raised his head. He looked at the emotionless Prime and said in a low voice, Emotionless, kid, what are you doing here? Grandpa Ox advises you to leave quickly. Don't let that Wong brat catch you and break your primordial lean, destroying the emotionless Tao that you cultivate. Slash. The emotionless Prime looked at Neo-Jation coldly. She frowned and said indifferently, The first Xin Wu Jation, TSK, 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 the patriarch of the Heaven and Earth Emergence Tao sect, is not bad. You can see Master Nyo's real body, but there's something wrong with your brain. When you could have captured little boy Wong, you didn't do it, but when you couldn't, you came here, said Neo-Jation. It was as if he was sad that the emotionless Prime was going to suffer. The emotionless Prime looked even colder. She frowned and said indifferently, The first Xian Wu Jation, you're just a cultivator at the top of the celestial Zune layer. Don't provoke me. Leave. Slap. Neo-Jation stared at him and shook his head. He said, How dare you? Even the first patriarch of the Yuhua Dao sect didn't dare talk to me like that. You're just a kid from a 9th patriarch of the Yuhua Dao sect. Since you don't want to live, you can die. It's good to have one less Zune layer to fight for the position of the 8th Zune layer. BZE. Whoosh. The emotionless Prime waved his horsetail whisk, and a blood-red light appeared. Neo-Jation was furious. Wong Kai, I've been your meat shield in the celestial martial domain for a long time. Now you should pay me back. Capture her, rape her, and break her Dao technique. Neo-Jation snorted angrily and moved to hide behind Wong Kai. Even though the emotionless Prime's attack couldn't kill Neo-Jation, it could injure him severely. Neo-Jation was the first Xian Wu Jation, but he had been injured by a young man. How humiliating. Neo-Jation couldn't allow that to happen. Absolute Reflection Shield. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Absolute Reflection Shield. 200 bragging points have been consumed. BZZZ. Bang. Puff. Suddenly, a golden barrier appeared in front of Wong Kai, and the blood light that was sweeping down was directly repelled. Even the emotionless Prime was pushed back a few thousand steps. He coughed up a mouthful of blood. Chapter 562. Heavens. Sectmaster, you still haven't used the 12 turns of the Silver Moon. Clap, clap, clap. Neo-Jation snorted and said, Boy, what kind of divine ability is the 12 turns of the Silver Moon? Is it the same as the 10 turns of the Silver Moon? Humph. Senior Nyo, you are wrong. I know the 10 turns of the Silver Moon, and so do all the Hall Masters. The Sect Master's divine ability is above the 10 turns of the Silver Moon. 2 grades higher. Lu Tian snorted proudly. Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Tian's aura suddenly rose from the peak Celestial Prime to the peak Ultimate God Realm. I know it too. Buzz. Under Lu Tian's gaze, Gold One scratched his head, and his aura rose from the Celestial Prime to the Ultimate God Realm. Then, the green and red ghosts, the soul-devouring Ghost Emperor, and the white-bone Ghost King also used the 10 turns of the Silver Moon. Neo-Jation was shocked. His big eyes were wide open, and his mouth was dripping with saliva. Clap, 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 clap. Lu Tian and the others' faces stiffened. Originally, they wanted to take this opportunity to show off. After all, they had just been kicked by Neo-Jation. But now, they had achieved the effect of making Neo-Jation jealous. But it was accompanied by the problem of their safety. Lu Tian swallowed his saliva and rolled his eyes. Suddenly, he respectfully said, Senior Ox, please don't be angry. This technique was taught to us by Senior Cat. At that time, we only used our souls to enter the technique. We couldn't tell you the cultivation method of this technique. Pa. Before Lu Tian could finish, Neo-Jation snorted and said disdainfully, So it was that stupid cat who taught you. Oomph. Bullshit. Master Neo doesn't care. Lu Tian and the others looked at each other and breathed a sigh of relief. They thought Neojatian was afraid of Lord Cat. Not everyone can act tough. If you want to act tough perfectly, elegantly, fresh, and refined, and become popular all over the world, you have to learn from me. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a calm smile, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to 5th grade Supreme Martial Artist. 12 revolutions of the Silver Moon." Wang. A silver crescent moon appeared above Wang Kai's head. Neojatian looked at Wang Kai enviously. Wang Kai's aura rose from 5th grade Supreme Martial Artist to the peak of 9th grade Supreme Martial Artist in an instant. He had surpassed the limit of any Supreme Martial Artist. I still can't break through to the 8 Desolation Supreme Martial Artist realm. It seems that these two realms are really two extremes. Wang Kai thought to himself. He turned and looked at Heartless Prime, who was in the void. Her face was pale. At this moment, Heartless Prime had almost lost her ability to step on the air. Her attack had been reflected by her own attack, and the absolute rebound Divine Shield had increased the power of her attack by several times. It could be seen that the power of her attack was no less than that of a peak Supreme Martial Artist. No matter how powerful Heartless Prime was, she would be seriously injured after taking such a blow. Release Yang Wei and serve this cult master for a few nights. Then, this cult master will be kind enough to release you. Well, you can rest assured that this cult master always keeps his word. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly and said with a playful smile, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points." Keep his word. Lu Tian and the others were speechless. Neojatian shook his head and pretended that he did not hear anything. He only suppressed his feelings of disdain. Bastard, if you don't want that kid with the pure yang, overlord body to die in the Feather Sect, kill yourself quickly. The Heartless Prime's gaze was extremely cold. His emotionless eyes were filled with ruthlessness and viciousness. Kill yourself here. Hearing this, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and closed his fan. He looked up at her and softly said, "If you release Yang Wei, this sect master can agree to your conditions. If you don't release him, this sect master will destroy the Emergence Dao sect and capture you. I will send you to the Wolf's Den and let you have a taste of how wonderful it is to be a man." Whoosh! As soon as he said that, the temperature in the surrounding space dropped. It was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. He wanted to send Heartless Prime to the Wolf's Den to have a taste of being a man for thousands of years. Who would dare to have such an idea? Even Heartless Prime was stunned at this moment. She had never thought that Wang Kai would say such words. How could he be so hateful? If the Feather Sect is destroyed, then so be it. As long as I am still here, the sect can be reborn. If you dare to disrespect me, the pure yang overlord body will die. Heartless Prime said coldly. Hiss! Hearing this, Wang Kai took a deep breath. He could not help but admire her in his heart. This woman was indeed worthy of being called Heartless Prime. Even if the Feather Sect was destroyed, she could still be indifferent. This sect master originally wanted to give you a chance, but it seems that you really don't know how to grasp it. Since that's the case, then watch carefully. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled playfully. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai closed his eyes and murmured softly, "Fly to your side. Seal the jade disc." Buzz! Suddenly, as Wang Kai's figure disappeared, the Heartless Sovereign's eyes narrowed, and her long, shapely eyebrows furrowed tightly. Wang Kai, what trick are you trying to play? Even if I am seriously injured, it is still impossible for you to succeed in a sneak attack. Heartless Prime berated sternly as she scanned her surroundings with a vigilant expression. She did not receive any response to this, causing Heartless Prime to become even more uneasy. Her vigilance also became even more intense. Lu Tian and the others naturally knew where Wang Kai had gone. However, looking at Heartless Prime's appearance, they all felt a little amused and mocked in their hearts. Heartless Prime, the matter of your fall is already destined. Lu Tian and the others secretly sighed. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, who would have thought that the dignified, heartless Prime would have such a day? Since you don't want to come out, then don't blame me for being merciless. Buzz. Suddenly, Heartless Prime's eyes turned cold as she fixed her gaze on Lu Tian and the others. The horsetail whisk in her jade-like hand began to dance. TSK, TSK. Don't blame me for being merciless. You claim to be heartless, but where did your feelings come from? However, you don't have to be anxious. I will let you know what love is. First, you have to learn from the bridal chamber. Whoosh! As Wang Kai's voice sounded, Heartless Prime's movements suddenly stopped. She suddenly turned around and looked at the void. The scene that she saw caused her beautiful eyes to widen. Chapter 563. In the tear in the void, Wang Kai was carrying the unconscious Yang Wei, looking at Heartless Prime with a mocking smile. Seeing this, Heartless Prime's heart skipped a beat. He couldn't figure out how Wang Kai had brought Yang Wei here. No matter how strong Wang Kai's combat strength was, or how powerful his divine soul was, it was impossible for him to find Yang Wei's location so easily. That was hundreds of thousands of miles away. Sect Master, Yang Wei, Lu Tian, and the others were anxious. Yang Wei had a sovereign-grade physique, a pure Yang overlord body, and the silver moon superpower. He was also an earthly sovereign. If it wasn't for a sovereign, no one in the 8 Desolates could take him down. They had heard that Heartless Prime was famous for taking away the sovereign physique. Now that they saw Yang Wei unconscious, they were worried. It's okay. Yang Wei just fainted temporarily. Wang Kai waved his hand and smiled. With a tap of his foot, he instantly appeared beside Lu Tian and the others. Lu Tian and the others hurriedly took Yang Wei, only to find that his aura was extremely stable. He wasn't seriously injured, but he couldn't wake up. Sect Master, is he poisoned? Lu Tian asked with a frown. It's not poison. His divine soul is being controlled. The soul-devouring Ghost Emperor said with narrowed eyes. Hearing this, Lu Tian and the others narrowed their eyes. As a soul Dao Ghost cultivator, the soul-devouring Ghost Emperor was naturally very clear about the divine soul. It wasn't poison, but the divine soul was being controlled. If they wanted to solve it, they could only break Heartless Prime's divine soul. Thinking of this, Lu Tian and the others looked at Wang Kai. Now, only Wang Kai could take down Heartless Prime. So what if you save him? Without my secret technique, he will never wake up, Paragon Heartless said coldly. Ha ha ha. She was still full of confidence. It was as if she was sure that Wang Kai would compromise with her. Her appearance immediately caused Wang Kai to raise his eyebrows. His eyes were full of playfulness as he looked at her. With a flip of his hand, he took out a folding fan and pointed it at it from afar. He smiled and said, "Since you are so confident, then this sect leader will show you what it means to be a living divine doctor. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points." Hearing this, Prime Heartless was extremely disdainful. His eyes were cold as he said indifferently, "Wang Kai, you don't need to waste your breath. If you have the ability, you can try to cure him. In the 8 Desolates, the only person who can break my divine soul mystic technique is the divine alchemist. Unfortunately, you're not. Drug God, the medicine god of the Medicine God Mountain, the #1 alchemist in 8 barren lands?" Wang Kai couldn't help but narrow his eyes. He glanced at her indifferently and was too lazy to attack her. He flicked his finger, and a drop of essence blood floated into Yang Wei's body. Yang Wei's originally motionless body began to move slightly. Ew. Wow poo. Suddenly, as the divine soul mystic technique was broken, Prime Heartless was also affected. Her delicate body shook violently, and her face became even paler. She even opened her red lips and spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood at the corner of her mouth dripped onto her clothes. But at this moment, she was not in the mood to care about this. She was deeply shocked by the scene in front of her. She had just said that only the divine alchemist could cure it. But in the blink of an eye, it was broken by Wang Kai, and it was just a drop of essence blood. What kind of physique did Wang Kai have? How could essence blood have such power? Yang Wei's eyes suddenly opened. In the blink of an eye, he stood up vigilantly. Sect leader? I. Prime Heartless. No matter. Leave her to this sect leader. Capture her and make her a servant girl. Wang Kai waved his hand and smiled. Crack. In an instant, Prime Heartless did not dare to stay any longer. She directly tore open the void with her bare hands and was about to escape. Seeing this, Wang Kai slightly narrowed his eyes. With a flip of his hand, he threw out the folding fan and instantly broke through the void. A crack. Swoosh. As Prime Heartless let out a miserable cry, the folding fan was also bounced back. Such a scene immediately caused Wang Kai to frown. With a flip of his hand, he was about to receive the folding fan, but the moment he touched the folding fan, he immediately felt the pressure multiplying. His body was immediately forced back dozens of steps. Jing Xian, is that you? Swoosh. Wang Kai stabilized his body and suddenly raised his head to look at the gradually closing crack in the void. A supreme being expert can't die yet. Restrain yourself. As the familiar celestial voice rang out in his mind, Wang Kai's brows immediately flew up. Little girl, you haven't seen your husband for many years. Why don't you stay for tea and food? Wang Kai beamed with joy and immediately stepped forward, breaking through the void. However, Jing Xian and the Heartless Prime were nowhere to be seen despite the surging electric waves in the air. Seeing this scene, Wang Kai's face instantly darkened. He was a little uncertain about Jing Xian's intentions. Does she want to be with me, or does she not want to be with me? According to her attitude, when she left the immortal martial domain, she shouldn't have spoken to me. But why did she do that just now? Wang Kai frowned and thought to himself. Crack! Niu Zhetian snorted and raised his head to look at the void. He said disdainfully, Are we going to fight again? Why bother? Every time we cause a commotion, we are not as strong as Lord Niu. Hearing this, Lu Tian and the others were immediately confused. They looked at each other and then at Niu Zhetian. Senior, who is Jing Xian? Lu Tian asked curiously. The red ghost and the green ghost were also confused. They asked in unison, Is Jing Xian the one who defeated the sect leader? Is it the Heavenly Emperor? Crack! Niu Zhetian snorted and said, No, it's not the Heavenly Emperor. Your sect leader's lover is much stronger than the Heavenly Emperor. The sect leader's lover, stronger than the Heavenly Emperor. F*CK. Could it be the 8 Desolation Supremacy? Lu Tian's eyes widened. He looked at Niu Zhetian as if he had seen a ghost. Yang Wei and the others were also shocked. They had never imagined that Wang Kai and the 8 Desolation Supremacy. Wang Kai was already strong enough. Now that he had the 8 Desolation Supremacy, who in the 8 Desolation Supremacy would dare to make an enemy out of Wang Kai? Wouldn't the Heavenly Sect be a transcendent power above the Heavenly Court? Crack! Suddenly, the void was torn apart again. Wang Kai descended from the sky with an ugly expression. Lu Tian and the others' mouths twitched when they saw this. They started to doubt Niu Zhetian's words. If she was really his lover, why did she come out so quickly? Crack! Niu Zhetian snorted and looked at Wang Kai disdainfully. He sneered and said, You can also fail? Heartless Supremacy ran away and you can't even catch your lover. TSK. Is this what they mean by drawing water with a bamboo basket? Hee, what do you know? When I come out of the reincarnation realm, Heartless Supremacy and Jing Xian won't be able to escape. Just now I was feeling unwell, so I asked Jing Xian to leave with Master Heartless. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a calm smile, Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Chapter 564. Clap, clap. Niu Zhetian was disdainful. He snorted and said, Stop bragging. I can't stand it anymore. Clap. Wang Kai closed his fan and shrugged his shoulders. He nodded and smiled. Let's go to the reincarnation realm. The reincarnation realm. Sect Master, did you succeed in the 6 ultimate forbidden areas? Yang Wei asked in surprise. Before Wang Kai could reply, Lu Tian and the others smacked their lips speechlessly. Not only did he succeed, but he also destroyed the 6 ultimate forbidden areas. Even the elusive old man Liu Jue had been sent to heaven. As for the so-called life and death fruit, Wang Kai did not even see it. Lu Tian and the others did not say anything. They were waiting for Wang Kai to brag. Sure enough, Wang Kai raised his brow and said with a calm smile, I didn't succeed. The 6 ultimate forbidden land is too weak. This sect master only had to stomp his foot a little, and it was reduced to nothingness. If I had known this would happen, I would have controlled my strength, Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 6th grade sovereign realm. Stomping my feet, I didn't control my strength well. As soon as these words came out, Lu Tian and the others immediately blushed. Even though they knew that Wang Kai would definitely brag, they really didn't expect that he would brag to such an extent that they couldn't look him in the eye. Yang Wei's mouth twitched. He braced himself and said, How can we enter the reincarnation realm without getting the life and death fruit? Are we going to fight our way in? Hee, I didn't succeed, but you did. You successfully destroyed the mighty Tiger Mountain stronghold. Wang Kai squinted his eyes and smiled. Swish! Hearing this, Yang Wei's eyes widened as he looked at Wang Kai in disbelief. For a moment, his face was burning and he felt incomparably embarrassed. Lu Tian and the others did not think much of it. Jin Yi, who was always honest, did not think much of it. But how could Yang Wei, who had the pure Yang overlord body, accept this? The mighty Tiger Mountain was obviously destroyed by the Ho family army. However, before they could enter the city to report, the Ho family army had already been destroyed by Wang Kai. If he claimed that he was the one who destroyed the mighty Tiger Mountain, wouldn't that be an imposter? How despicable. Cough, cough, sect leader, it's broad daylight, and we're outside the Heavenly Emperor's supreme city. I'm afraid we can't hide the fact that we destroyed the Ho family army. Yang Wei said awkwardly. Papa. Niu Tian snorted and said disdainfully, What are you afraid of? His lover is the 8 desolation supremacy, and even the celestial emperors have to bow their heads before him. If he says yes, who would dare to say no? Whoosh! Niu Tian suddenly turned around and said, Little boy, you said you don't want to rely on your lover to help you. You can't take advantage of her reputation. What if the celestial emperor chose to let them go because of Jing Xian's pressure? At that time, if Wang Kai entered the samsara realm, wouldn't he lose the bet? In Niu Tian's opinion, only 2 people were qualified to enter the reincarnation world. One was the celestial emperor, and the other was Jing Xian. Jing Xian was more powerful. She could directly use her power and ignore the realm suppression of the samsara realm. The heavenly emperor, on the other hand, only relied on his authority as the master of the 8 barons to control the reincarnation realm. It's just a reincarnation realm. Is there a need to be so vigilant? Let's go, we'll go to the heavenly court and have a chat with the heavenly emperor. She'll personally bring us into the reincarnation realm. She's only my maid, so she'll naturally have to be obedient. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a calm smile, Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai gently waved his fan and leisurely stepped into the air, heading straight for the heavenly court. Clap, clap. Niu Tian snorted disdainfully and shook his head, following closely behind. Lu Tian, Yang Wei, and the others looked at each other and had no choice but to follow. Lu Tian and the others did not care about the impersonation. They only cared about whether the heavenly emperor would agree or not. Yang Wei, on the other hand, was very concerned. As a dignified man, how could he do such a thing? The heavenly court, outside the meridian gate of the supreme city. The place was extremely secluded. There were no pedestrians or buildings for hundreds of miles around. As far as the eye could see, there was a vast expanse of flat land, paved with white jade. The Meridian Gate was even larger. Standing in front of the gate and looking up, one could see that it was 100 meters high and 20 meters wide. Looking at the Meridian Gate carved with dragons and phoenixes and inlaid with gold and jade, Wang Kai immediately curled his lips in disdain. The Meridian Gate was so majestic, but there was not a single guard around it. No wonder you're the master of the 8 Desolates. You're really something. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a playful smile. Clap, clap. Neoja Tian snorted disdainfully and said, compared to the Black Tortoise Mountain, it is still a far cry. Hearing this, Wang Kai could not help but grin. Although the Black Tortoise Mountain looked otherworldly, it was two extremes compared to the Heavenly Court Supreme City. Elder Lu, why don't you go and open the gate? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and smiled. Swoosh! Lu Tian's face suddenly became serious. He immediately lifted his robe and walked elegantly to the Meridian Gate. He shouted loudly as if he was singing an opera. Everyone in the Heavenly Court, open the Meridian Gate and welcome the sect leader of the strongest force in the 8 Desolation. The Heavenly Emperor has washed himself clean and is waiting for his arrival. F***CK? Yang Wei was dumbfounded. The green and red ghosts, the soul-devouring Ghost Emperor, and the white-bone Ghost King could not help but curse. On the other hand, Gold One scratched his head in confusion and echoed, well said. In Gold One's opinion, when flattering Wang Kai, it was necessary to say that he was good. Clap, clap. Neoja Tian snorted and glanced at Lu Tian with great admiration. He said, not bad. With such a good flatterer by your side, you will have a strong sense of superiority. I just don't know when you will be slapped to death by him. The corner of Wang Kai's mouth twitched slightly when he heard this. He had to admit that when his cultivation was strong, he was not afraid of Lu Tian's flattery, but if his strength was weak, he would really be hunted down by Lu Tian's flattery. Haha, old cow, you don't understand. The reason Elder Lu can say that is because he believes in my strength. Moreover, I do indeed have the ability to reign supreme within the 8 Desolates. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and smiled with an indifferent expression. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Dominating? If the Heavenly Emperor can open the gate for you, I will admit defeat. Neoja Tian snorted disdainfully. Hearing this, Wang Kai's eyes immediately narrowed. He turned to look at the Meridian Gate that still did not move at all. He suddenly took out his folding fan and waved it gently. Then he laughed loudly and said, in the past, the places that this sect master wanted to go to were all closed doors. However, this sect master was able to enter every time. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, a sound came from the Meridian Gate. The Meridian Gate only opens at night. If sect leader Wang wants to enter the Heavenly Court, you can wait for 8 hours. Chapter 565. They could only enter the court at night, and they had to wait for 8 hours? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard the words. He snorted coldly with an unfriendly expression. He immediately waved the folding fan and slammed it at the Meridian Gate. Buzz, crack, rumble. All of a sudden, the Meridian Gate was reduced to rubble under the bombardment of the sovereign-level pressure. Inside the rubble were tens of thousands of soldiers guarding the city. Their auras were at the ultimate god, earthly master, and even holy master level. There were more than a dozen of them. How dare you? Do you think the Heavenly Court is a place for you to trespass? Whoosh! A heavenly venerable powerhouse flashed out and suddenly tightened his grip on the long saber at his waist. He waved his arm and pointed into the distance. TSK, TSK. There are a total of 13 holy masters. 5 of them are at the peak of the holy master level, and 2 are at the half step to sovereign level. Wang Kai squinted his eyes and smiled. The Heavenly Court was indeed powerful. No wonder it was called the Master of the 8 Barons. Compared to the 3 aristocratic families, which only had one peak holy master, it was much more powerful. Coupled with the number of soldiers from the heaven exterminating troop, the heavenly court was not to be underestimated. Sect Master, leave the 13 holy masters to me. Whoosh! With a flip of his hand, Yang Wei tore apart his robes, revealing his bulging muscles. A ferocious aura gushed forth from him. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and looked at him curiously. He did not expect Yang Wei to have the courage to fight against 13 holy masters. However, Wang Kai was relieved when he thought about Yang Wei's realm. The earthly master level could reach the holy master level by relying on the bloodline. The 10th revolution of the silver moon could reach the sovereign level. Coupled with the suppression of the holy master's bloodline power, it was possible to fight. Okay, go ahead. If you can't beat them, remember to step back. Wang Kai nodded and smiled. Although the 10th revolution of the silver moon could suppress the bloodline power of the opponent, it had to be done in close combat. No matter what, it was still difficult for Yang Wei to deal with 13 holy masters at the same time. Haha, when the pure Yang Overlord body reaches the earthly master level, only sovereigns can stop it. Whoosh! All of a sudden, Yang Wei stomped his foot and charged into the army. He attacked the 13 celestial masters directly. Facing Yang Wei's ferocious attacks, other than the 13 Tian clan rankers, no one else could block them. Wherever they passed, they would throw away their armor and fly in all directions. Seeing this, Wang Kai could not help but squint his eyes. He could not help but exclaim in his heart. The pure Yang Overlord body was indeed a natural combat body. It was indeed unbeatable. Sect Master, we're going to. Whoosh! Lu Tian placed his hands on his waist and laughed heartily. As soon as his voice sounded, he rubbed his fists and charged forward. The green and red ghosts, the soul-devouring Ghost Emperor, and the White Bones Ghost King followed closely behind. In the end, only Neoja Tian and Jin Yi were left. Papa! Neoja Tian snorted and looked at Lu Tian and the others who were fighting against the city guards. He said disdainfully, "Little Wang, why are you so troublesome? You could just slap them to death with a single slap. Master Neo can't wait for the bet." Sect Master, do I need to go too? Jin Yi touched his head and asked in a simple and honest voice. From the way he looked at the city guards, there was obvious disdain and contempt. Seeing this, Wang Kai was quite surprised. He could not help but look at Jin Yi carefully and said with a strange smile, "Hall Master Jin, your realm should only be at the peak of the immortal venerable realm. There's still the hierarch, earthly venerable and heavenly venerable realm above you. With your divine ability and bloodline, you can deal with the earthly venerable experts. But they're too weak. Sect Master, why don't you release my subordinates and let them fight?" Jin Yi touched his head and said with a smile. Hearing this, Wang Kai suddenly reacted. It turned out that after all this time, this guy wanted him to release those berserk lions. Jin Yi was not as simple and honest as he looked. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and shrugged playfully. With a flip of his hand, nearly 10,000 berserk lions were released from the Tower of Babel. Asterisk bang bang, roar roar. Asterisk asterisk, roar roar. Asterisk in an instant, almost 10,000 ferocious lions were released, and they instantly blocked the outside of the Meridian Gate. Their enormous bodies, ferocious faces, and low roars were extremely shocking. TSK, not bad. You've reached the venerable realm. It seems that the big stupid cat has been trained well. Wang Kai nodded and smiled in surprise. Among the nearly 10,000 berserk lions, the strongest was at the holy venerable realm, and the weakest was at the human venerable realm. As soon as they appeared, they raised their heads and roared. In an instant, they all looked at Jin Yi respectfully. Asterisk, roar roar. Asterisk Jin Yi was also excited and immediately transformed into his original form. His tall and mighty body was like a crane and a flock of chickens in front of the nearly 10,000 berserk lions. Kill! Jin Yi raised his paw and was about to give the order, but halfway through, he was stopped by Wang Kai with a wave of his hand. Don't be so murderous. Just teach them a lesson. There's no need to kill them. If they're stubborn, there's no harm in killing them. Wang Kai said with a faint smile. Hearing this, Jin nodded. He waved his paw and roared, "Attack! Roar! Roar! Rumble! Rumble!" In an instant, nearly 10,000 wild lions charged forward under Gold One's lead, scaring the city guards so much that their faces turned deathly pale. They were already extremely passive when dealing with Lu Tian and the others, and now there was such a terrifying number of berserk lions. How could they fight? Many of the city guards could not help but look at the 13 holy masters. However, what they saw was a scene that made them feel even more despair. In the void above, there were originally 13 holy masters, but now there were only 2 left after being beaten by Yang Wei. Moreover, the 2 heavenly exalts were injured all over their bodies. The 11 holy masters were lying on the ground, their auras extremely weak. While not bad, it's considered a first-class overlord force. With your current combat strength, it can indeed be ranked as the 11th sovereign force. Nioja Tian shook his head and sighed. He also did not expect Wang Kai to have such strength and gather so many experts. Originally, he thought that even if he did not die after coming to the 8 barons from the celestial martial domain, he would not be strong. He did not expect that not only had he become a sovereign, but he had also formed a first-class overlord force. Haha, a mere sovereign force is nothing. The Defy Heaven sect that I lead is the overlord of the 8 barons. At the beginning of the world, I was already the overlord. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled casually. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. The overlord of the 8 barons. The overlord since the beginning of the world. Just the 8 barons sovereign alone was above Wang Kai. How could he be the overlord? Clap. Nioja Tian expressed his disdain. He snorted and said, I'm sure you're good at bragging. At the beginning of the world, no one was better than you. Chapter 566. Haha, of course. Since I was born, I was given the title of bragging deity. Now that I have lived for 1800 duans, the title of bragging deity is no longer enough to describe me. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with an indifferent expression. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Papa. When Nioja Tian heard Wang Kai, he looked at Wang Kai and shook his head. He didn't want to talk to him anymore. With Nioja Tian's understanding of Wang Kai, he knew that Wang Kai would brag even more. It seems like you really want to know what kind of title is worthy of this sect master, right? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled. Papa, Grandpa no. Nioja Tian snorted, but he was interrupted by Wang Kai. Wang Kai snorted. The answer is simple. My awesomeness is indescribable with words. It's really lonely and sad. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 7th grade sovereign realm. Patter. Wang Kai gently waved his fan and closed it. Nioja Tian almost went crazy when he saw Wang Kai's expression. He really knew how to brag. Moreover, his bragging was irrefutable. Grandpa Nio is ashamed to be associated with you. Pa. Nioja Tian kept snorting. The white jade stones on the ground were broken. He shook his head and wagged his tail as he ran towards the Meridian Gate. Alas, it is indeed a very sad thing to be too awesome. Even the old bastard who has lived for 90,000 years admits that he is inferior to me. Until now, I finally understand what it means to be too handsome to have any friends and too outstanding to have any friends. Wang Kai shook his head and sighed. Then, he stepped into the Meridian Gate with a rather lonely expression. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. At the same time, Yang Wei's battle had come to an end. The 13 Empyreans were all lying on the ground, unable to move. Their weak auras seemed as if they could die at any moment. As for the city guards, they were completely annihilated by Lu Tian's group as well as the pride of lions led by Gold One. They were all beaten to the point of collapsing on the ground. Especially those city guards who were beaten down by Lu Tian. All of their faces were ashen and filled with grief and indignation. Her backside, her chest, and even that part of her body, Lu Tian hit her accurately. There were no major injuries, but humiliating injuries were all over his body. Damn it, who are these people? That bastard actually used such a despicable move. Hiss. As Wang Kai and the others entered through the Meridian Gate, the guards who had been injured by Lu Tian cursed with twisted expressions. As for the city guards who did not even have the strength to speak, they suddenly felt a little lucky. Fortunately, it was not Lu Tian who had injured them. Otherwise, wouldn't they have lost all face? Boy, don't think that the Heavenly Court is so easy to break through. At the Meridian Gate, there are just some small fries. The real powerful ones are at the true martial sect. Nyoja Tian said in a low voice. The true martial sect? Small fries? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and looked around. He looked at the tall walls around him and the second giant gate opposite him. He could not help but feel surprised. On top of the tall walls on all sides stood figures with strong auras. Judging from their attire, they should be ordinary soldiers. But their realms were all earthly venerables. What really surprised Wang Kai was the giant gate opposite him. There were nearly 100 golden-armored soldiers. Their realms were all at the level of half-sovereign. Furthermore, judging from the aura of the spears in their hands, they were all half-utmost exalted weapons. True martial sect, after passing through this gate, is it within the heavenly court? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and sized up the nearly 100 experts above the true martial sect with great interest. Bang! Nyoja Tian snorted and said, yes, after passing through the true martial sect, of course, you will be in the heavenly court. However, it is still not easy to see the Heaven Emperor. In the heavenly court, there are many places such as the Universal Hall, the Yin Balcony, the Imperial Kitchen, the Tactics Institute, and so on. Whoosh! As soon as these words came out, Wang Kai immediately frowned. Even after entering the true martial sect, he still couldn't see the Heavenly Emperor directly. How big was the heavenly court? Did they really think that she was an empress? It was quite presentable. Let's go directly to the bedroom, Wang Kai said, shrugging his shoulders. Go to the bedroom, whoosh. Hearing this, Nyoja Tian's face suddenly became strange. Lu Tian and the others also looked at Wang Kai in a daze. Sect Master, don't tell me you like cough cough. Lu Tian shuddered as he looked at Wang Kai in horror. Even Yang Wei's face turned green at this moment, as if he was going to run away at any time. Seeing this scene, how could Wang Kai not know what they were thinking? Immediately, he glared at them with a dark expression. He gritted his teeth and said, are your brains filled with SH*T? Of course, we're going to the bedroom to see the Heaven Emperor. But rumor has it that the bedroom of the heavenly court should be for men. Bang. Before Lu Tian could finish his words, Wang Kai slapped him and he fell to the ground. Is a powerhouse like the Celestial Emperor really like what you think? That he would recruit men to serve him? If he does, he will reward you. Wang Kai snorted, his forehead full of black lines. However, after saying this, even Wang Kai was not sure. No matter what, the Celestial Arch was still a woman and a genuine empress. People said that the empress had a harem of 3,000 beauties. If it were the empress, she would not be able to escape, right? The rumor is true. The Heaven Emperor does have a harem of men. I just don't know whether you're going to see the Heaven Emperor or those, hee. Nyoja Tian snorted and looked at Wang Kai mockingly. Hearing this, Wang Kai's face became darker. He waved his sleeves and said with a cold smile, if that is the case, there is no need for the heavenly court to exist. No need for the heavenly court to exist? Sect Master, why did you come to the heavenly court? Lu Tian asked curiously. Yang Wei and the others were also very confused. Didn't they come to the heavenly court to see the Heaven Emperor and enter the reincarnation realm? If that was the case, what did it have to do with a harem of men? Nonsense. The main reason I came to the heavenly court is to enter the reincarnation realm. Of course, the secondary reason is to take the Heaven Emperor as a maid. Otherwise, do you think a busy person like me would waste time to come to the heavenly court? Does the heavenly court have that much influence? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and said with disdain, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points." Whoosh. Hearing this, Lu Tian and the others were speechless. After all this time, Wang Kai wanted to take the Heaven Emperor as a maid. No wonder he wanted to destroy the heavenly court. It would be strange if Wang Kai was interested in the Heaven Emperor, who had 3,000 beautiful men in her harem. Ba, those 3,000 beautiful men in your harem. May you be in paradise. Lu Tian and the others could not help but murmur in their hearts. They were deeply sad for those beautiful men in the harem. Not only were they imprisoned in the palace, but they were also tortured physically. Now, they were about to lose their lives. Chapter 567. In front of the true martial gate. With the arrival of Wang Kai and the rest, nearly 100 half-step supreme beings opened their eyes and looked at Wang Kai and the rest indifferently. Their eyes were as calm as an ancient well, as if they had been sitting there for a long time. Seeing this, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and looked at them with a playful expression. He smiled faintly and said, "You all seem to be very pretentious. Don't you know how to come down and welcome me?" Whoosh! As soon as he said this, the eyes of the experts flashed and they looked at each other. Finally, the leading old man said, "Sect leader Wang has come from afar, so we naturally don't dare to stop you. However, since you're the leader of a sect, you should respect etiquette. If you want to enter the heavenly court, you have to wait for 8 hours. Respect etiquette." The leader of a sect, Wang Kai, raised his eyebrows. He had to admit that this old man was very powerful. He knew that he couldn't defeat him, so he used other methods to stop him. Respect, justice, integrity, and shame. These restrictions were not within Wang Kai's consideration. He well said, "This sect master has always been responsible for being polite. I have never bullied the weak and innocent, nor have I ever used my terrifying strength to oppress people. It's just that the Heavenly Emperor is this sect master's concubine. Is there anything wrong with this sect master coming to find a concubine?" Wang Kai frowned and asked with a puzzled expression, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. The Sky Emperor was his concubine. As the master, he naturally shouldn't stop him from finding a concubine." Such words made the corners of the experts' mouths twitch fiercely. They didn't expect Wang Kai to say such words. Continue to argue that the Sky Emperor wasn't Wang Kai's concubine? Would Wang Kai agree? This was obviously a random reason for him to enter the true martial sect. Since Wang Kai had the idea of twisting words and forcing logic, it was impossible to stop him. Could it be that he had to find the Celestial Emperor to prove that she was not Wang Kai's concubine? Wouldn't he be killed by the Heavenly Emperor? Many half-step supremes felt extremely helpless and indignant. With a lower cultivation base, no matter if it was their own leader or their enemy, Wang Kai, they couldn't think of a way to deal with him. "Sect leader Wang, we are the guards of the heavenly court. If we let you enter the true martial sect without permission, the Heavenly Emperor will definitely punish us. Sect leader Wang, as the leader of a sect, you should understand that we are your subordinates." The old man's eyes flashed, and his tone suddenly became sorrowful. The corner of Wang Kai's mouth twitched when he saw her begging and sincere look. Was this an emotional attack? The guard of the heavenly court did have some skills. However, even so, it was still useless against Wang Kai. No, your starting point was wrong from the beginning. I am not here to enter the heavenly court peacefully. Therefore, as long as I beat all of you until you can't get up and vomit 3 liters of blood, it will be enough. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled indifferently. Whoosh! When these words came out, the hearts of the experts who heard it suddenly jumped violently, and they could no longer maintain their calm. Encountering someone like Wang Kai who didn't play according to common sense, no one could do anything. If they couldn't get up and vomited 3 liters of blood, could they still live? But thinking about it, if they didn't want to be injured and let Wang Kai enter the true martial sect, the Heavenly Emperor would definitely be angry. Since that was the case, they could only fight. Many half-step supremes smiled bitterly. They had been guarding the true martial sect for many years, but they had never encountered such a thing. Or rather, no one dared to barge into the true martial sect. They thought it was a good job, but now it seemed, since Sect Master Wang is not reasonable, we can only fight to the death. Protect the dignity of the heavenly court. Kill! Kill! Suddenly, the 100 or so experts all stepped into the air and slashed down with all their strength. Seeing this scene, Wang Kai frowned and sneered with a disdainful expression. You guys are so arrogant. Originally, I wanted to beat you guys down lightly, but you guys said that this religion master is unreasonable. Since that's the case, fine. All of you can lie down for a few years. 10 dragon-subduing slaps. Buzz. Swoosh. Swoosh. They really wanted to say that it was for the Heavenly Emperor to hear. They didn't really want to say that you are not reasonable. Bang. 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 Rumble. Rumble. However, those experts could only watch helplessly as the palm imprint grew larger in their eyes. They did not even have the strength to block the attack that they had unleashed. Immediately after, the bodies of those experts were all sent flying high into the sky by the palm prints and fell in all directions. One could vaguely see their sorrowful and regretful faces. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Neoja Tian snorted and said disdainfully, a bunch of idiots. Trying to be reasonable with Wang Kai? You must be tired of living. When had Wang Kai ever talked about reason along the way? If being reasonable was useful, Wang Kai wouldn't have been able to leave the immortal martial domain. Extraordinary times required extraordinary treatment. If you were too patient, you would be trampled on endlessly. As for Wang Kai, he was even more powerful. He would never be patient. Brat Wang has seen through the world of martial arts. If you are weak, no one will be reasonable with you. If you are strong, the weak will take the initiative to be reasonable with you. If you were patient, you would have been dead long ago. Neoja Tian shook his head and sighed secretly. Neoja Tian couldn't help but have a lot of feelings for Wang Kai. Lu Tian, break through the true martial sect and lead the disciples of the heaven-defying sect to conquer the heavenly court. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled proudly. Swoosh! Hearing this, Lu Tian was very excited. He had long wanted to unify the Eastern Wasteland and even the 8 Wastelands. Now, wasn't it realized? The heavenly court was the ruler of the 8 Wastelands. If he could overthrow it, the heaven-defying sect would undoubtedly be the new overlord of the 8 Wastelands. Thinking of this, Lu Tian seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. He immediately waved his arm and laughed loudly. Hall Masters, follow me to battle. Haha. As long as there is a fight, I don't care. Yang Wei grinned fiercely. The green and red ghosts, the soul-devouring Ghost Emperor, and the white-bone Ghost King were also very excited. The Heavenly Court, the ruler of the 8 Wastelands, used to be in the Ghost Realm. It was impossible to go out. Now, after following Wang Kai, not only did they walk out of the Soul Break Valley, but they also fought their way to the Heavenly Court. Sect Master is too kind and benevolent. He can't devour experts at will. Green Ghost murmured regretfully in his heart. Rumble, rumble. Suddenly, as Lu Tian, Yang Wei, and the others exerted their strength, the huge true martial sect was directly smashed open. Inside, a group of palaces came into view. Heaven Emperor, I am here. Have you cleaned up? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly and walked in leisurely while waving his folding fan. Chapter 568. Ling Shao Hall. This is the legendary Ling Shao Hall. Lu Tian's footsteps paused as he looked at the towering steps in front of him. At the top of the steps was a huge palace. Around the palace, and even above it, there were 5-colored, auspicious clouds swirling. It looked like a fairyland. Lingxiao Hall? What do you mean? Do you really think this is the heavenly court where immortals live? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and shook his head with a disdainful smile. However, thinking about it, it made sense. In the 8 Desolates, the abilities of cultivators were indeed not much different from immortals in the eyes of mortals. Sect Master, you may not know, but this is the Lingxiao Hall. Only the most respected experts of the 8 Desolates can enter and discuss important matters of the 8 Desolates. Lu Tian said with a rather solemn expression. Previously, he was a gatekeeper disciple of a small force at the border of the Eastern Desolates, so he had naturally heard some rumors about the Lingxiao Hall of the 8 Desolates' heavenly court. Every time he heard the words Lingxiao Hall, he was filled with endless yearning. And today, he was standing in front of the Lingxiao Hall. What made Lu Tian even more excited was that, as the first-generation Grand Elder of the Sky-Defying Sect, he could enter the Lingxiao Hall at any time and possess it. Wang Kai even had the intention of overthrowing the heavenly court, so a Lingxiao Hall was naturally nothing. Discussing important matters of the 8 Desolates, TSK, then none of us should know better than Dong Wang, right? Right? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, under the puzzled gazes of Lu Tian and the others, Wang Kai released Dong Wang from the heaven-reaching tower with a flip of his hand. Even Princess Dong Wang and Dongfang Xian appeared in everyone's line of sight. This place, as soon as Dong Wang appeared, his expression suddenly froze. Looking at the group of palaces in front of him and the Lingxiao Hall opposite him, he was speechless for a moment. Even Dongfang Xian was stunned on the spot. She blinked her beautiful eyes, and her face was filled with disbelief. As the eldest daughter of the Eastern Emperor, she had naturally been to the heavenly court several times. Although she had never entered the Lingxiao Hall, she had observed it from afar. Now that she saw it, she couldn't imagine how Wang Kai came in. Could it be that he was already powerful until the extent where he could even disregard heavenly emperors? How could this be? The more Dongfang Xian thought about it, the more she didn't want to accept it. Back then, Wang Kai had been chased all over the eastern wasteland by her, but in the blink of an eye, he had already surpassed her. Moreover, he didn't even fear the celestial emperor. What kind of person is he? Dongfang Xian's beautiful eyes turned, and she looked at Wang Kai with a somewhat defeated expression. A deep sense of helplessness welled up in her heart. It had to be said that when a person became strong, those who were originally stronger than them would not be able to accept it. Once such a situation occurred, they would feel that they could not overcome it. After all, it was hard to fathom how a weak and insignificant person who suddenly became so strong that it was as if the heavens had been overtaken. The sharp-eyed Wang Kai naturally saw all of this. He couldn't help but look at Dongfang Xian with a playful expression. He narrowed his eyes and teased. How about it? Little girl, this sect master still lack a servant girl to accompany me. If you want to break through your cultivation realm faster, you can come to this sect master at any time. And as for the price, as the eldest princess, you should know what it means to have a servant girl accompanying me. Whoosh! When those words were spoken, Dongfang Xian's beautiful eyes instantly went blank. Soon after, her pretty face was filled with shame and anger as she lowered her head. Even her ears were dyed red. She didn't know why, but after knowing how powerful Wang Kai was now, Dongfang Xian no longer had any thoughts of continuing to be his enemy. It wasn't that she didn't have any thoughts, but that she didn't have the strength to have such thoughts. If I can become his servant girl, I can reach his level. Even if I can't catch up to him, I can at least quickly reach the peak of the heavenly exalt realm. That's good too. Such a thought suddenly appeared in Dongfang Xian's mind, causing her to feel even more ashamed and angry. For a moment, she was like a little girl, holding the corner of her clothes and lowering her head without saying a word. Seeing this, Wang Kai secretly despised her. When he wasn't strong, She would shout and kill whenever she saw him. Now that he was strong, she was like this. After thinking about it, Jing Xian was still the best. However, there was nothing wrong with Dongfang Xian's actions. She knew that continuing to be his enemy would result in death. So why would she take the initiative to seek death? Dong Wang, this sect master will let you be in the Lingxiao Hall. How about it? Wang Kai frowned and said with a teasing smile. Whoosh! Plop! Dong Wang's face immediately turned pale with fright. He fell to the ground and said while trembling, Sect Master Wang, please don't joke. This emperor, cough cough, this lowly one can't bear it. Wang Kai wasn't afraid of the heavenly emperor, but that didn't mean that others weren't. If the heavenly court wasn't destroyed, who would dare to enter the Lingxiao Hall? Who would dare to sit on the Lingxiao throne? That was a right unique to the past heavenly emperors. It had never been changed for more than 90,000 years. Look at your inexperienced appearance. Isn't it just a Lingxiao Hall? What's so great about it? Lu Tian, I'll give this hall to you. Play as you wish. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a disdainful smile. Whoosh! Lu Tian shivered when he heard the words. He said excitedly as if he had been injected with chicken blood. Thank you, Sect Master. I will definitely use my instinct to take the 8 desolates for myself with the Lingxiao Hall as the base. Okay. Just work hard. Wang Kai's face was slightly stiff. He waved his hand and said a few words in response. He didn't expect Lu Tian to care so much about the Lingxiao Hall that he even said that he would unify the 8 desolates. Then, Lu Tian ran toward the Lingxiao Hall. The green ghost and red ghost also wanted to go and take a look, but they were beaten and scolded back by Lu Tian. The Lingxiao Hall was given to me by the sect master. Without my order, no one is allowed to enter. Hearing Lu Tian's aggressive and serious words, the green ghost and red ghost could only snort angrily. Damn it, isn't just a Lingxiao Hall? You're so awesome. Green ghost snorted disdainfully. That's right. There are so many palaces in the heavenly court. We can ask the sect master for a few at any time. What are you so proud of? Red ghost snorted with displeasure. On the other hand, Yang Wei, Gold One, the soul-devouring ghost emperor, and the white-bone ghost king were relatively quiet. They didn't have much temptation for the Lingxiao Hall. Sect master, I heard that there's a fighting arena in the heavenly court. There are princes, princesses, and other experts in it. I want to learn from them. Yang Wei suddenly cupped his fists and said, Compete with the younger generation of the heavenly court? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes slightly. The heavenly court was one of the 10 paragon forces. The strength of the younger generation of the heavenly court, such as the princes and princesses, was naturally not weak. Moreover, Wang Kai also wanted to know if the Heaven Emperor really had a harem of beautiful men. If not, where did these crowned princes, princesses, and princes come from? Thinking of this, Wang Kai couldn't help but be interested. He nodded gently and said with a smile, Well, I'll go with you and help you. Slap! Nioja Tian snorted and snorted disdainfully. Boy, you want to see if the princess is beautiful or not, right? Bang! Suddenly, Wang Kai raised his hand and slapped Nioja Tian, who fell to the ground. Old Nio, don't always tell the truth. You must learn how to lie, Wang Kai said with a rather unfriendly look. Chapter 569. Clear Wind Hall, Battle Arena. At this moment, there were close to 100 seats around the battle arena. Every seat was occupied by a young man and woman in golden robes. They all looked to be in their 20s. All of the men were handsome and dignified. The women were also beautiful and had exquisite figures. In the center of the battle arena, there was a man and a woman fighting. Although it was a battle, it looked like a fight to the death. It was as if both sides wanted to take the other's life. The young man was 25 or 26 years old. He wore a black robe and had a handsome face. However, his smile was filled with disdain and ridicule. He was waving a blue longsword and was constantly toying with a beautiful woman. The beautiful woman's body appeared extremely weak and small. She looked as if she was only 16 or 17 years old. At this moment, several pieces of her light blue dress had been shattered, exposing her snow-white skin to the air. On the left side of her face, there was a slight sword wound. Looking at her legs, a blood-red mark was clearly visible. Even if she was not the man's opponent, she did not have the slightest intention of retreating, even though she knew that he was toying with her. Her clear eyes were filled with killing intent. She clenched her teeth and attacked without any regard for her life. Clang! Bang! Plop! Suddenly, the young man waved his sword and forcefully flicked it, sending the beautiful woman's body flying. She fiercely fell to the side of the battle arena, and the thin sword in her hand also fell to the side. Shangguan Qing, do you know the difference between you and this king now? Since your surname is Shangguan, you must be a servant for the rest of your life and serve the Nangong family. Nangong Feng coldly reprimanded. Nangong Feng was the 10th generation of the Nangong family's direct descendant. He was only one generation younger than the Heavenly Emperor, Nangong Huowu. He had cultivated for nearly 1,000 years and was already a peak earthly sovereign. He could step into the heavenly sovereign realm at any time. As for Shangguan Qing, she was a vassal family of the Nangong family. She was a servant force that had served the Nangong family for generations. She looked to be only 16 or 17 years old, but her actual age was already over 800 years old. Her current realm was only a few grades lower than Nangong Feng. She was a 5th grade earthly sovereign. Even so, I won't agree to your rude request. Even if I die here today, Shangguan Qing will not compromise with such a despicable and shameless person like you. Shangguan Qing gritted her teeth and shouted angrily. The Shangguan family was originally a servant of the Nangong family. There were many beautiful women who were fancied by the direct descendants of the Nangong family. However, there were naturally some direct descendants of the Shangguan family who were unwilling to submit. Shangguan Qing was one of them. That was why this scene was happening. Haha, our Nangong family doesn't need such a disobedient servant. Nangong Feng, why aren't you killing her? What's the point of keeping her alive? Suddenly, a golden-robed man sitting at the head of the table, who was also the centermost, slowly spoke. Beside him stood a similarly beautiful woman who looked to be around 30 years old. This woman was also a direct descendant of the Shangguan family. Because she was valued by the crown prince, she became a servant who accompanied him to his bed. The man who spoke was the current crown prince of the heavenly court. He was also the future successor of the 8 desolations, Nangong Jiao. He was also the person who the heavenly emperor had ordered Wang Kai to kill in the reincarnation realm. The rest of the people present were the direct descendants of the heavenly court, such as the princes, princesses, and so on. It could be said that there were nearly 100 young powerhouses present. They were all the future powerhouses of the heavenly court. Crown Prince Jiao, isn't it a pity to kill her? Ha, I still want to, Nangong Feng said with a sinister smile. His eyes were filled with dominance as he stared at Shangguan Qing. Shangguan Qing became even more furious when she saw Nangong Feng's gaze. She clenched her teeth so hard that streaks of blood appeared on her lips. I'd rather die than submit. Swoosh! As soon as she finished speaking, Shangguan Qing's body suddenly rolled. When she rolled to the side of the thin sword, she flipped her hand and grabbed it. Then, she placed it on her neck and forcefully slashed it down. Clang! Bang! Wah! Suddenly, a green streamer pierced through the air and shattered the thin sword into pieces. Shangguan Qing's beautiful eyes were filled with shock as she stared blankly at the outside of the arena. At the same time, many direct descendants of the heavenly court, led by Nangong Jiao, also turned around to look. At the entrance of the arena, Wang Kai's white robe fluttered even though there was no wind. He held a golden folding fan in his hand and gently waved it in front of his chest. His handsome face was filled with a faint smile. At the side, Yang Wei's upper body was bare, and his muscles were like steel. His valiant and belligerent face and ferocious aura were extremely terrifying. There were also the 2 ghosts. One had green skin, while the other had red skin. Their fangs, horns, and claws were also quite frightening. For some unknown reason, the soul-devouring ghost emperor seemed to cater to such an appearance. He turned back into a black divine soul and even turned into an evil ghost face. He hovered in the air and looked down coldly at the direct descendants of the heavenly court. The white-boned ghost king's appearance was even simpler. He turned into a gloomy skeleton with red ghost fire flickering in his eye sockets. On the other hand, Gold One had already turned back into his original form. His tall and mighty body, blade-like claws, dense fangs, and his huge mouth opened wide in anger. Behind them, there were close to 10,000 berserk lions, all of them lined up in neat rows. Who are you? How dare you barge into the clear Wind Palace's arena? Nangong Jio frowned and stared coldly at Wang Kai. As the strongest person present, he was a heavenly sovereign. Although he could not see through Wang Kai's cultivation, he did not take him seriously. After all, this was the heavenly court. Crown Prince Jio, leave them to me. They're just a bunch of weak cultivators. How dare they disturb this king's beautiful matter? They are really courting death. Ah! Bang! Crack! Rumble! Suddenly, before Nangong Feng could finish his words, Yang Wei's figure flashed and appeared in front of him. He punched Nangong Feng and sent him flying backward. Nangong Feng's face was smashed into pieces. Too weak. Too weak. Yang Wei frowned when he saw this. His face filled with displeasure. He glanced disdainfully at the unconscious Nangong Feng, then turned to look at Nangong Jio and said coldly, "You're the strongest here, right? Come, let's have a fight." Buzz. Rumble. As soon as he finished speaking, Yang Wei released his aura. The aura of a peak earthly sovereign swept across the entire arena. Apart from Nangong Jio, many of the heavenly court's direct descendants were suppressed to the point that they could not move. Such an aura caused the direct descendants to be terrified. They did not expect that this person would be so strong. Moreover, he was not the leader. When they thought of this, the many direct descendants could not help but look towards Wang Kai, and all of them were extremely terrified in their hearts. Then how strong is their leader? I promise that I will update every day. Although it will be a little late at times, there is no need to worry. I will not stop updating, not even once. Regardless of whether it is windy or rainy, I will not stop. I will not disappoint everyone's support and love. Chapter 570. He's just a drop of liquid that was sprayed out by someone else's mistake. Since his birth was a mistake, why should I feel sorry for him? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and smiled casually. Someone else's mistake, and a liquid that was sprayed out. His birth was a mistake. Swoosh! These words immediately caused the corners of everyone's mouths to twitch violently. Even Shangguan Qing, who was originally filled with killing intent, blushed at this moment and secretly glared fiercely at Wang Kai. Wang Kai, who was famous in the 8 Wastelands and had challenged the sect leader of the Heaven Sect, not only liked to brag, but he also liked to talk dirty. It was hard to imagine how such a person could reach his current level. By luck. But wasn't his luck too great? Puff. Then, while Nangong Feng was unconscious, Shangguan Qing stabbed her sword into his throat. Nangong Feng's eyes widened and his body quivered. Plop. Blood flowed from the corner of Nangong Feng's mouth. He wanted to say something, but his throat made a gurgling sound. His head tilted to one side, and he fell to the ground. He was no longer breathing. Sigh, how boring. Is this the so-called heavenly court fighting ground full of *T experts? It seems that the heavenly court's fate is about to come to an end. Let me, the sect leader, end it in advance. Wang Kai shook his head and sighed. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. His fate is about to come to an end? Savior? If everyone was like Wang Kai, who had the combat strength of a peak sovereign, the heavenly court would not be able to survive. He was not a savior, but a demon who would destroy the world. Everyone was terrified. There were many people in the 8 Wastelands who were as lawless as Wang Kai, but none of them were as powerful as him. Wang Kai, do you want to meet me? Suddenly, a voice that was mixed with a slight tremble sounded out. That clear and melodious voice instantly caused Wang Kai's expression to freeze. Turning around and looking at the woman in the golden dress, Wang Kai couldn't help but look her up and down a few times. Seeing that she was indeed beautiful, Wang Kai was quite surprised and asked with a smile, "Everyone in the 8 Desolations knows that this sect master is mighty, domineering, and extraordinarily handsome. The number of beauties who want to date this sect master is simply like carp crossing the river. But this sect master is very curious. Where did you get the courage and confidence to date this sect master?" Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 9th grade sovereign. Host, Wang Kai occupation, martial artist realm, 9th grade sovereign Taoism, the way of bragging divine powers, luck deprivation technique, great summoning technique, 12 revolutions of the silver moon equipment, Tong Tian Tower, ever-changing fan heaven's power, Nun star source, 0 physique, invincibility guardian beast, Nun bragging points, 11700 experience, 0500000. Hearing the prompt, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. He glanced at it casually and closed it with his mind. He couldn't help but murmur to himself, reaching the 9th grade sovereign and wanting to break through to the 8 wastelands sovereign realm, I've received an extra 100,000 experience points. The 30,000 experience points I had before have also disappeared. Does this mean that I've reached the threshold of another level? What do the 8 wastelands sovereign realm mean? How strong was it? What other realms were there above it? What kind of place was the so-called Tianzhou? No matter what the answers were, Wang Kai thought that he had to keep a low profile in the future. Keeping a low profile was the best way to show off. But now in the 8 wastelands, there was no need to keep a low profile. He had to keep a high profile and unify the 8 wastelands. Wang Kai, you allowed her to kill the son of the 7th Marquis, Nangong Feng, and severely injure the crown prince. You even imprisoned him and wanted to bring him out of the heavenly court. The heavenly emperor and the heavenly court will not sit by and do nothing. Although your cultivation is strong, you can't completely go against the heavenly court, right? The lady in the golden dress calmed herself down and said calmly, "Swoosh." Hearing this, Wang Kai squinted his eyes and looked at her with surprise. He didn't expect that there would be such a bold lady among the princes, princesses, and princesses present. "Well, what are you trying to say?" Wang Kai shrugged and asked with a playful smile. When the lady in the golden dress saw that Wang Kai was interested, her beautiful eyes immediately flashed with a strange light, and she immediately said gently, "Sect leader Wang, I am the #1 princess of the heavenly court. My name is Nangong Xilan. If we can get married, not only will the heavenly court not blame you, it will also become your strongest backing. I wonder, patter." Before Nangong Xilan could finish speaking, Wang Kai waved his fan and closed it. "I have already said that in this world, there are countless beauties who want to become my woman. However, not everyone has the chance. To be precise, I will be the man that you will never be able to get in your life." Wang Kai smiled indifferently. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. The man that she would never be able to get in her life. Swish! Such words immediately provoked Nangong Xilan, causing her beautiful eyes to widen. Traces of anger brewed in her eyes and increased. As the first princess of the heavenly court, Wang Kai didn't give her any face at all. She had originally planned to marry him so that she could obtain a sovereign-level husband. Thus, Wang Kai could also resolve the crisis of becoming enemies with the heavenly court. This was the best of both worlds, but Wang Kai didn't agree, and the way he rejected her was so despicable. Why can she? Why can't I? Beauty? Identity? Status? Cultivation? Talent? Which one of them can compare to me? The more Nangong Xilan thought about it, the more embarrassed she became. She couldn't help but scold him. In front of so many young experts of the heavenly court, being ignored by Wang Kai like this. Where was her face? Because I took the initiative to ask her out, and you're the one who threw yourself at me. More importantly, I'm only interested in one person in the Nangong family, and that is Nangong Huowu. As for the rest, you should just squat somewhere cool, secretly, far away, silently, and admire my peerless demeanor. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and smiled proudly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Wah. Suddenly, Nangong's island was so angry that her chest heaved up and down. In the end, she opened her red lips and spat out a mouthful of blood. In the end, she was so angry that she fainted on the spot. She had always been proud and arrogant. When had she ever been treated like this? Your temper is quite big. You all saw it, right? In the future, you have to learn to be low-key and humble. You can't be too arrogant. Otherwise, you won't be able to achieve your goal and will easily die from anger. Wang Kai lightly fanned himself and said with a disdainful expression, "Swish." When everyone heard this, their eyes flickered. They were all thinking that if they were treated like this in public, they probably wouldn't be able to take it either, right? Yang Wei, I'll leave them to you to spar with. You guys can also stay and spar with them. Miss Shangguan, shall we go? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled wantonly. Chapter 571. Wang Kai, what should my father and I do? Do we have to stay? Just as Wang Kai was about to leave with Shangguan Qing, Dongfang Zian, who had been silent all this while, suddenly spoke. Beside her, Dong Huang's expression was extremely ugly. Due to Kuang Shi's tall stature, he hadn't been exposed in front of the heavenly court's direct descendants. However, with Dongfang Zian's shout, everything was exposed. As a prince of the heavenly court, he had actually followed Wang Kai into the heavenly court and watched as the crown prince was captured and the young prince was killed. Dong Wang could already imagine what would happen to him. Dong Wang? Could that girl be the eldest princess, Dongfang Zian? It must be her. She's Dong Wang's most beloved princess. She's been to the heavenly court since she was young. No one else has the qualifications to be brought into the heavenly court by Dong Wang himself. Dong Wang has actually joined forces with Wang Kai. Previously, the mansion master of the Celestial Master Mansion had a close relationship with Wang Kai. Could it be that Wang Kai has been planning to rebel against the heavenly court since the beginning? When Dong Huang's identity was exposed, the direct descendants of the heavenly court all looked at the father and daughter pair with worry in their eyes. This girl, what is she thinking? Dong Huang's expression was extremely dark as he glared at her. Even though he was furious, there was nothing he could do about his most beloved daughter. Little did he know that Dongfang Zian was currently filled with regret. She didn't know why she had suddenly called out to Wang Kai. On the other hand, Wang Kai raised an eyebrow when he heard this. He turned around and looked at her with a strange expression. He smiled and asked, "Where you father and daughter want to go is your own business. What does it have to do with me?" Whoosh! Dongfang Zian's face instantly paled when she heard this. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. Dong Wang was very quick-witted when he heard this. Although it was a pity that Zian couldn't be with Wang Kai, this wasn't a bad thing. Could it be that sect leader Wang intends to let us go? However, we were forcefully captured by you and brought here. I'm afraid it's hard to take responsibility. Dong Wang shook his head and sighed sorrowfully. As the Dong Wang, he was naturally scheming. Seeing that Wang Kai did not intend to continue bringing them along, in order to protect themselves, they could only use the reason that Wang Kai had kidnapped them to get rid of the heavenly court's blame. However, in Wang Kai's ears, it made him feel rather disgusted. If you're afraid of being punished by the heavenly court and want to live, you can just tell me directly. Was there a need to be so scheming? Do you think I'm a fool? Wang Kai's brow suddenly twisted as he looked at Yang Kai with a look of disdain, suddenly sneering. Dong Wang, our cooperation ends here. I hope you will not let this religion master see you again in the future. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai turned around and left with Shang Wanqing. All that was left was the dumbfounded Dong Wang and the endless killing intent of the Heavenly Court's direct descendants. Perhaps the direct descendants of the Heavenly Court could see that Wang Kai was deliberately framing Dong Wang. However, in their opinion, after being treated like this by Wang Kai, they could vent their anger on Dong Wang. Why? Why is he so heartless? He didn't even give us a chance to live. Dong Wang had thought that Wang Kai did not care about insignificant people like them. That was why he had come up with such a plan to get rid of the blame. With Wang Kai's current cultivation and reputation, Dong Wang had thought that Wang Kai would help him. However, now, it had the opposite effect. Smack! When Niu Zetian saw this, he snorted and said disdainfully, "Now you're scared, aren't you? Didn't you think you were smart? Even if you want Wang Kai to help you get rid of the blame, you should discuss it with him first. Now, do you understand the consequences of coming here directly? You idiot!" Smack! As soon as he finished speaking, Niu Zetian shook his head and wagged his tail as he followed Wang Kai. The corner of Dong Wang's mouth twitched when he heard this, and the veins on his forehead bulged. "Let's go, Buzz!" Suddenly, Dong Wang's peak heavenly venerate aura spread out. He grabbed Dongfang Xian and stepped into the air. Bastard! He can escape now, but can he escape forever? Send a message to the Meridian Gate and the True Martial Gate. Don't let him leave. Yes. Send the message through the Jade token. In an instant, under the furious roars of the Heavenly Court's direct descendants, each of them took out a fiery red Jade token and transmitted their thoughts into it. On the other side of the Jade token, the response was also extremely fast. Just as the message was sent, it was already flashing with brilliance. However, the voice that came from it stunned the direct descendants of the Heavenly Court. "I'm sorry, Princess. I'm sorry, young prince. I'm sorry. The Meridian Gate has been destroyed. The generals guarding the gate have lost their ability to fight. The True Martial Gate has been breached. The generals guarding the gate have lost their ability to fight." Plop, plop. Some of the direct descendants of the Heavenly Court fell to the ground. Their faces were as pale as paper as they looked at Wang Kai's back and Yang Wei and the others who stayed in the arena. "What did you do? Did you force your way in? Could it be that Wang Kai is determined to destroy the Heavenly Court? Miss Shangguan, where does the Heavenly Emperor often appear?" After leaving the arena, Wang Kai gently fanned himself with one hand and held Shang Wanqing's hand with the other. He kept stroking and enjoying it. Shang Wanqing's face was flushed red. Her heart had not stopped beating until now. However, she could not go back on her promise to Wang Kai. Moreover, with Wang Kai's cultivation, it would be difficult for him to go back on his word. In that case, she might as well go along with it. There are only 4 places where the Heavenly Emperor often appears. The first is Shangqing Hall, where the Heavenly Emperor cultivates. The second is the Imperial Study, where the Heavenly Emperor reviews important matters. The third is Silk Palace, where the Heavenly Emperor sleeps. The last is Baiwa Garden, where the Heavenly Emperor eats and drinks. Shang Wanqing lowered her head and said softly. Although she did not know why Wang Kai wanted to know about the Heavenly Emperor, as a servant of the Nangong nobles, she had killed a direct descendant of the Nangong nobles. Shang Wanqing could no longer stay in the Heavenly Courts for such a crime. In that case, she might as well tell Wang Kai everything and leave with him. Shangqing Hall, Imperial Study, Silk Palace, and Baiwa Garden. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly when he heard this. He pretended to ponder and rubbed his chin. In the end, he smiled faintly and said, "Let's go to the Silk Palace first. If we can't find the Sky Emperor, then we'll go to the other 3 places. This is courtesy. A good man like this sect master who is knowledgeable, polite, humble, and benevolent naturally has to go to the Silk Palace to find her first. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Humble, compassionate, well-educated, and well-educated. There were a total of 4 places, and the first was the palace where the Heavenly Emperor slept. Was this courtesy? Shang Wanqing's beautiful eyes were dazed. She looked at Wang Kai in confusion. It was hard to imagine what kind of man Wang Kai was. Chapter 572. Moreover, didn't he say that he would make an appointment with her? Since that was the case, why did he still have to look for the Sky Emperor? For some reason, such a thought popped up in Shang Wanqing's mind, causing her pretty face to turn red. She lowered her head, pinched the corner of her clothes, and followed behind in shame and indignation. She dared to think about it, but she didn't dare to say it out loud. By the way, rumor has it that the Sky Emperor has a harem of 3,000 men. Is this true? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and asked curiously. If the Sky Emperor really had that kind of crazy hobby, Wang Kai would definitely return home immediately. Shang Wanqing's beautiful eyes flickered slightly when she heard this. She suddenly said in a low voice, "Yes, and it's more than 3,000. However, those men had already been castrated when they entered the heavenly court." Whoosh! As soon as these words came out, Wang Kai's heart skipped a beat. At first, he was a little speechless, but when he heard the last part, he had another thought. Not only 3,000 men, but they had all been castrated. F***CK. How ruthless was the Sky Emperor? Since she didn't want a harem of men, why did she still look for them? Wasn't this the great men who destroyed my great rivers and mountains? Thinking of this, Wang Kai's face was filled with indignation. He closed his folding fan with a snap and pretended to be angry. He said, "The Sky Emperor is really bold. How dare she insult young men and old men like this? No, this time I must punish her well. I must let her know that I am the most awesome masculine spirit. Send her to heaven." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Send her to heaven? Shang Wanqing was stunned when she heard this. Her eyes were full of doubts as she looked at Wang Kai. She didn't understand what he meant. "Don't tell me you want to kill the Sky Emperor?" Shang Wanqing suddenly said in shock. "Kill the Sky Emperor?" Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. He couldn't help but stop in his tracks. He turned around and looked at her strangely. This woman was sometimes smart and sometimes stupid. It was really interesting. No, you are young and inexperienced. I have always been known for my benevolence and righteousness. As a good example for the ambitious young people in the world, there are some things that I naturally can't explain to you. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a rather indifferent smile, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to reach the first rank Heavenly Soldier Realm. Congratulations to host for successfully reaching the Heaven Soldier Realm. Heaven's power has been upgraded to level 1. Host, Wang Kai profession, Martial Warrior Realm. First rank Heavenly Soldier Dao. The way of bragging is equipment. Tower of Heaven to the tower to 2 and none bragging points. 12200 experience. 050000. Hearing the notification, Wang Kai's gaze froze. He couldn't help but squint his eyes and mutter, "Heavenly Soldier Realm? Not the 8 Desolation Supreme Realm? Why is that? Could it be that the true cultivation level above the Sovereign Realm should be the Heavenly Soldier Realm? The so-called 8 Desolation Supreme Realm was only at the peak of the 8 Desolations. Host, the 8 Desolation Supreme Realm is the same as the Heavenly Soldier Realm. In the 8 Desolations, it is called the 8 Desolation Supreme Realm. In the Tianzhou, it is called the Heavenly Soldier Realm. If you step into the 8 Desolation Supreme Realm from the peak of the Heavenly Sovereign Realm, you will be considered a fake Heavenly Soldier Realm expert. Compared to those who step into the Heavenly Soldier Realm from the peak of the Heavenly Sovereign Realm, the difference in battle strength is many times greater. Swoosh! Hearing the notification, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. The peak of the Heavenly Sovereign Realm was actually a fake Heavenly Soldier Realm expert. It couldn't be compared to the Heavenly Soldier Realm that he had broken through to. Then, did Jingxian step into the 8 Desolation Supreme Realm from the peak of the Heavenly Sovereign Realm? Or did she step into the heavenly soldier realm from the sovereign realm? Wang Kai frowned and couldn't help but worry. If Jingxian stepped into the 8 Desolation Supreme realm from the peak of the heavenly sovereign realm, it meant that her cultivation had reached the limit. However, if she wanted to be stronger, she had to give up the 8 Desolation Supreme realm and turn around to cultivate again. What is the heavenly force? First rank, what kind of help can it bring me? Wang Kai furrowed his brows and asked with his mind. He had long been curious about the heavenly force and the astral source's function. Although the astral source's function hadn't been fully activated, the heavenly force had reached the first level. Host, the heavenly force is the power of the heavenly way. It is divided into 9 levels. Each level can help the host fight an enemy that is 1 level higher. Moreover, the heavenly force has nothing to do with one's talent. If ordinary people want to increase their level, they need to train hard and understand the heavenly way. In Tianzhou, the heavenly force is one of the most important battle strengths. Hearing the notification, Wang Kai was slightly stunned. The heavenly force had 9 levels, and each level could only fight an enemy that was 1 level higher? What was the use of it? It wasn't as powerful as the 12 transformations of the Silver Moon. Thinking of this, Wang Kai's face was full of disdain. He urged his mind in disgust and said, "At first, I thought the heavenly force was so awesome. After all this time, it's actually such trash. What a waste of my feelings." Host, in the land of Tianzhou, there are countless powerhouses. The difference in strength between the realms is huge. No superpowers or secret techniques are enough to make up for this difference. Whoosh! As soon as the notification came out, Wang Kai's pupils suddenly shrank. All superpowers that were above their realms were ineffective. If he wanted to kill an enemy that was above his realm, he had to rely on the heavenly force. Then what kind of place was Tianzhou? Only the heavenly force can make up for the difference between realms. If that's the case, then the 12 turns of the Silver Moon and the 8 inner hidden gates can't be used? Wang Kai frowned and said speechlessly. It seemed that when he reached Tianzhou, he had to keep a low profile and brag more. Host, superpowers, and secret techniques can still be used. However, they can only be used against opponents of the same realm. They can't be used against opponents of a higher realm. So that's how it is. In Tianzhou, any superpowers or secret techniques that could kill an enemy of a higher realm could only be used against opponents of the same realm. If he wanted to kill an enemy of a higher realm, he had to rely on the heavenly force. That's good. I want to keep a low profile. Sometimes, keeping a low profile is more fun than keeping a high profile. Isn't this world more interesting? Wang Kai shrugged and smiled faintly as he waved his fan. Sect Leader Wang. Sect Leader Wang? Shang Wanqing called out softly for a long time, but didn't get a response from Wang Kai. In the end, she stood in front of Wang Kai and waved her hand. Bang! Wang Kai came back to his senses. Seeing this, he couldn't help but be lustful. He pretended to be confused and bumped into her. Immediately, he hugged Shang Wanqing's soft and delicate body. Feeling the softness of her chest, as well as the faint fragrance, Wang Kai immediately felt extremely comfortable. He had just reached the heavenly soldier realm, and he could try such a gentle hug. It was indeed wonderful. You, Sect Leader Wang, are you going to ask me out now? Shang Wanqing's delicate body trembled slightly. She gritted her teeth and asked softly. However, she didn't dodge or struggle. Instead, her pretty face was flushed and her heart was pounding, as if she was waiting for something to happen. However, when this scene entered Wang Kai's eyes, he was completely speechless. Ask her out. Ask her out now, okay? Did this girl always think that the so-called ask out was the meaning of the bridal chamber? This dirty idea, haha, it suits this sect master very well. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and secretly thought with a rather playful expression, "You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."